As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T, F, face drooping, A, arm weakness, or S, speech difficulty, then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals. But I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Keep a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve. It's now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What are you talking about?
No, it's not him. There's only one more. There is only one more. There's not say one more. No!
They saw your team put up zero effort.
Wake up!
Remember in the old days they used to have oxygen for them. Where's the oxygen? Play like absolute just garbage.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
Yeah!
Can you keep it down? I'm trying to introduce here. With Errol Marks, Speedy Petey, and ex-NFL loudmouth, Sean Smith.
You're not even a has-been. You never was. You're never was.
Yes, it is, ladies and gentlemen. It is no more Super Bowl. March Madness is around the corner. Pitchers and catchers are about to begin over there. Well, they have begun in spring training. And we're looking for a very good playoff run for the New York Knicks. I am Errol Marks. I am the sports loudmouth. My co-host tonight, as always, the great and powerful Speedy Petey. And just a few moments, we will have an additional co-host. He's right now working with his family, has family issues. We will have Sean Smith joining us in just a few moments. And remember, you can call us at 631-672-3108. That is our number. And you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey and Sean Smith every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in to all our shows and our local listings is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Speedy, what's up, man?
Well, I had a fun Super Bowl party. Definitely stuffed myself with a lot more than I should. Had some very good.
What'd you stuff yourself with?
Mostly ribs and nachos.
How about sausages?
No sausages this time around.
Hot dogs?
No hot dogs.
Those baby buns?
No, none of those. I
call them those bread nipples. You know, have you ever had a bread nipple before?
No, I've never called those bread nipples.
I mean, it looks like a nipple, doesn't it?
No.
It looks like a little nipple sticking out of
it. And now you're back
to
juvenile teenage.
I'm just telling the truth here. Doesn't it look like a bread nipple?
For you.
It does. It looks really, really good.
All right.
I did. I had a couple of bread nipples.
Okay. Good for you.
A lot of hot food. I was hanging out with the Beeve and his family. It was great. It was fun. It wasn't such a fun Super Bowl because we had a chance to watch Kansas City win another Super Bowl. Back-to-back Super Bowls. The last team to do that was the New England Patriots, if you remember, Speedy.
Yes.
It was in the beginning career of the Tom Brady era. But, yeah, we have a great show lined up for you guys. But before we do that, I just want to give a shout-out to Kyle Shanahan. And I'm going to say this very, very nicely before we get into the Super Bowl, the Chiefs, and the 49ers. I have been saying this over and over and over again about Kyle Shanahan. For some reason, this guy is completely lost on calling plays during a game. I don't know what it is. Maybe he needs to go and speak to somebody. Maybe he needs a therapist, because for some reason, this man decided not to run the ball in the important parts of the game. I don't know what it is. And firing a defensive coordinator in Steve Wilks makes no sense, okay? Absolutely makes no sense. You want to blame the Super Bowl loss to Steve Wilks? I mean, honestly, if anybody watched the game, everybody knows it was Kyle Shanahan's play calling that cost the 49ers the game. But before we get into that, a little bit later in the show at 8:30, we'll be talking to former Orioles, Blue Jays, and Yankees pitcher, our friend Josh Towers. I think he's in Arizona, right?
He's around Vegas. So,
so he enjoyed the Super Bowl.
He got to enjoy all the
festivities?
The festivities of that.
Never invited me. I'm very upset at you, Josh.
And I'm curious to see how his
very upset at you.
Curious to see how his wiffle ball.
I don't have my whip. I'm not going to whip him tonight, but maybe. I do have my
whip him.
Well, I did buy an Indiana Jones whip, and I actually keep it. I'm actually going to use it next Halloween.
All right.
Maybe on you, Speedy. I don't know. Maybe you'll be my bet. And I'll bring you to, I'll bring you to one of the events. Anyways, at 9:00, we'll be talking to former Dolphins and Giants cornerback Tony Lippett. He will be joining us. The Chiefs beat the 49ers 25-22 to win Super Bowl 58. And by the way, it was horrible, the story that came out at the parade today. 15 people were injured. I don't know if anybody was died.
There was one death. Yes.
So there was one death at the parade. It's just a horrible story. We'll get into that. NFL awards recap. We'll get into that because we were speaking about that for the last couple of weeks. And now we know who's winning the awards or who won the awards. So we will get into that. 7 new players inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And on his way, yes, I'm going to say it for all you people out there, Speedy, my friend Rivers will be heading there too. Phillip Rivers in 2 years will be inducted into the Football Hall of Fame. And my friend, Speedy,
Steve White,
yes, will be owing me a nice steak dinner because I told him that he is a Hall of Famer. He said that there's a better chance for other quarterbacks that are still in the NFL right now to make it. But we'll see. Anyways, the Bears say they won't trade the number 1 pick unless they got a historic haul back for the return. The Knicks protest the end of Monday night's loss against the Rockets when Jalen Brunson was called for a controversial foul. Okay, and I'll say this. It was not a foul. He didn't even put his hands on him. I have no idea what the referees were looking at. And for some reason, they decided to look at the time on the clock instead of look at the foul. I mean, it made no sense, but whatever. David Stearns says that Pete Alonso is hitting free agency next season and is the most likely outcome. So it seems like Pete Alonso will not sign back with the New York Mets. And I believe they're going all in on Juan Soto. That's what it tells me right now.
They better make it work. Otherwise, they're going to lose Alonso and they lose much else.
They better hope he doesn't have a fun time with the Yankees. He better hope.
Or the Phillies don't swoop in and so go sign him too.
I don't know, because if he has a good season with the Yankees in Yankee Stadium and he puts up 50 home runs and he's batting behind a guy like Judge, and Giancarlo Stanton has a breakout season again this year, and Rizzo stays healthy, and this team and Torres and all the players that they have on this roster plays well, why would he leave? Now, I do know that he has a very good relationship with Francisco Lindor, and he likes the Mets organization. He likes Citi Field. He loves playing in Citi Field. But again, they're taking a big what if when it comes to this. And I do believe there's going to be a lot of what ifs if they don't sign Pete Alonso. So anyways, we will get into that a little bit later in the show. So let's get into it, because I know everybody couldn't wait for this Super Bowl, including yours truly, as I had no money bets on this game, except a couple of boxes. By the way, I won $225. The Beeve won $4,000.
Of course he did.
This guy just keeps winning and winning and winning. And I was 45 seconds away from winning $5,000. 45 seconds. I am so disgusted. But nevertheless, that would have made me remember this Super Bowl. Everything else made me want to throw up when it came to the Super Bowl. Anyways, the Chiefs beat the 49ers in Super Bowl 58 by a score of 25-22 in only the second overtime game in Super Bowl history. Patrick Mahomes won his third Super Bowl MVP, tying him with Joe Montana for second in NFL history and only to Tom Brady, who has 5. Travis Kelce had 9 catches for 93 yards and is now second all-time in playoff receiving yards and first all-time in catches. The 49ers lost a key player in Dre Greenlaw, Deebo Samuel, which came back, and George Kittle, which also came back to injuries in various parts of the game. Various players on the 49ers said they did not know the new overtime rules. That has something to do with coaching, ladies and gentlemen, until they showed it on the Jumbotron during the game. Kyle Shanahan says he knew the overtime rules and stands by his decisions of electing to receive first in overtime. There's a lot to get into this game, okay? There really is. And I can't sit here and say it wasn't Kyle Shanahan's fault on the loss in this game. Now, there was a lot of key losses in this game, losing a guy like Greenlaw, I think in the second quarter.
Yeah.
He was running on the field after the 4th down play of Mahomes. I think it was a field goal kick.
Yep.
After the field goal kick, he runs on the field and he tears his Achilles. I mean, throughout the last week of practices, and it wasn't even Kansas City. I mean, it wasn't even the 49ers complaining. It was Kansas City complaining about the field, the turf, how dangerous it is, that there could be numerous amount of injuries in the game. And it happened. I mean, there were so many injuries in this game. And Deebo Samuel, I hurt his quad. I thought he hurt his hamstring, but I was hearing that it was his quad that he hurt. And he came back on the field. He played as much as he could. He could try to keep up with the corners, McDuffie and all those other kids and Snead. To me, he was a shell of himself in the game. And then Brandon Ayuk, and I thought he was going to have a great game or at least show up to the game. He might as well have eaten hot dogs on the sideline or even popcorn because it didn't seem like he even showed up to the game. And for some reason, in the first drive of the game, they kept feeding Christian McCaffrey. He was getting 7 yards, 8 yards, 10 yards, 9 yards, 10 yards, 7 yards. And he did fumble the ball on the first drive. He did. Why would you stop feeding the best running back in the NFL the ball? What makes sense to this game when you go back and you try to think on what play or what player should have been fed the ball at least 40 times in this game? Kansas City could not stop Christian McCaffrey. They couldn't. And when they figured out they were feeding them in the ball in the fourth quarter, what did they do? They clogged up the middle. They jammed up the middle, and they made Brock Purdy throw the ball, these screen passes, these short passes. And Brock Purdy was a shell of himself throughout the season. And I said this. Brock Purdy is he's not a game changer. He's really a game filler. You're going to use Brock Purdy for his strengths. And what is his strengths? Throwing short passes, being accurate. He doesn't have a strong arm. He's not very good inside. He's not good outside of the pocket. He's good inside of the pocket. And there was a lot of mistakes that Brock Purdy made. But I'm not going to blame it on a kid that he's a first-time Super Bowl quarterback. And he was playing arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. And everybody's going to say, well, he's only been in the league for this amount of time. Listen, he's been in the NFL for what, 7-8 years? He's won 3 Super Bowls. He's won 3 Super Bowl MVPs. I mean, you can't quote this, but he's going to go down as one of the top 3 quarterbacks to ever play this game. And if he would retire right now, he'd probably go down as one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks of all time. But that doesn't mean that they couldn't beat Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes was not the quarterback he was for the last 2 seasons. He didn't have the weapons he's had over the last 2 seasons. And by the way, for all the Jet fans taking shots at Mecole Hardman, Okay, and he didn't have a great game, but he didn't have a bad game.
He had a 53-yard catch or whatever, and then winning touchdown. That's a pretty good game.
I mean, the Jets didn't use him right. How about this? The Jets didn't use him at all this year. And that says to me that the Jets gave them a piece that helped them win a Super Bowl.
Mike Pennell, too, another former Jet, played very well.
Played very well, yes. Absolutely. You sit here and you wonder, what did the Kansas City Chiefs do right in this game? And in the first half, they did everything wrong. And as a matter of fact, before Usher went up there and put on a spectacular halftime show, and I will say that, the Kansas City Chiefs could have been down 24-3. They could have been down 21-3. All they had to do was run the damn ball. They couldn't stop Christian McCaffrey early in the game. He fumbled the ball. He made some mistakes. He made one mistake in the game. He was catching the ball in the backfield. He was catching the ball in slant passes. They were using him in the as a wide receiver. The trick play that he used him in the second quarter, fantastic throw by Brock. Well, was it Brock Purdy?
No, it was Juwan Jennings.
Juwan Jennings, I'm sorry. But the game shouldn't have been as close as it was in the first half of the game. Now, the referees were really on the 49ers side all early in the game. As a matter of fact, the first two quarters, I think there were 3 or 4 penalties, and they all went to Kansas City. Now, do I think the NFL and the Super Bowl is rigged? I'll say it again. I do believe it. I'm not going to quote it, and I'm not going to point out things that happened in this game that are kind of fishy. But what I would say in this game, it was anybody's game going into the fourth quarter. Anybody's game. And Patrick Mahomes didn't have a good first half, but in the second quarter, in his third quarter and the fourth quarter, he took over the game. He took over the game. And Travis Kelce, shame on you, man. Shame on you, what you did to Andy Reid, okay, in the first quarter, because you weren't getting the ball. You were crying about it. I couldn't believe that Andy Reid let this guy step back on the field. Now, I understand it's a Super Bowl, and I understand you need Travis Kelce. And yes, he had 9 catches for 92 or 93 yards.
Yeah.
Whatever. Travis Kelce did not look good in the first half.
Nope.
He didn't. I think he had 1 yard in the first half.
1 catch on a screen pass. That was it.
1 yard.
Yep. And he didn't have another catch.
And he had a
late in the third.
sour puss face when he stepped off the field after the second quarter. You saw his face. And I told everybody at the party that I was at, you expect Travis Kelce to see the ball at least 8 or 9 times in the third and fourth quarter.
Taylor Swift made a call to Andy Reid and said, "You better get my boyfriend involved."
I don't know what it was, but it was something. And Travis Kelce did not have a great game, even though he led all wide receivers in catches and yards. It doesn't matter. Travis Kelce did not have a good game. He didn't. In the fourth quarter, he made that big grab that got him into field goal position so they could kick the field goal.
Range, yeah.
And it hurt me because I would have won $5,000. But nevertheless, Travis Kelce was the reason why I didn't win $5,000. But he didn't have a good game. And going into overtime, and by the way, there was a story that came out, and I know Josh Silverberg sent me this, and I do want to read this because it's pretty funny when you think about it. And I'll say this. I've been telling everybody for a long time, Speedy, I think it's been 5 years that I believe the NFL is scripted. I've said it.
Yeah, that sounds like good. 5 years.
Adam Schefter on February 6th, regarding the Super Bowl, he says, regarding Sunday's Super Bowl 58 matchup, CBS Sports Chairman Sean McManus quipped it. The NFL has alerted us that for the first time ever, we will have a double overtime game in Super Bowl 58.
Wow.
Now, let me ask you guys a question. The game went to overtime. There was 6 seconds left, and the Kansas City Chiefs were on the, 8-yard line, 9-yard line? And before he threw that Andy Reid special to Mecole Hardman.
Yeah, the same play they ran Chief twice
They
last year.
run that play every single time. They ran it.
yeah.
They ran it against Miami this year. They ran it against Buffalo. They run that play at least once every game. It's the Andy Reid special. And I'm not going to blame Steve Wilkes for that. I'm going to blame Kyle Shanahan because if you know how to read defenses, you would know. I mean, read offenses, you would know as a defensive-minded coach, which you're not. You would know to call a timeout on a play like that when your team is your team is up in the game and you only have 6 seconds left in the first overtime.
More of Wilkes' problems were on the third down defense play calling, not that red zone.
It was a horrible, horrible, horrible position the Kansas City Chiefs put the 49ers in with 6 seconds left. And I told the beef and I told everybody at the party, you watch, this is going into a double overtime. I mean, it's scripted. And what happens? Kansas City plays the same route, uses the same route with Mecole Hardman. They've done with Scantling, which they've done with Tony. They've done this many, many times. They ran the same route, not on the left side, but on the right side. And they beat the 49ers in the final, in the first overtime with 4 or 5 seconds left of the game.
Yeah, they did the same thing to the Eagles in the Super Bowl last year, where they ran the same play on the left with Sky Moore, then the same play to the right with Kadarius Toney. Yep. And that accounted for 2 of the fourth quarter touchdowns that the Chiefs had against the Eagles. And the 49ers, I guess, for that moment, either didn't prepare for it, or I think Travarius Ward got beat somewhere, like he was reading something in the middle of the field. So you're right. That's not all on Steve Wilkes. Ward was looking the wrong way. There wasn't anyone else over there. And
do you think the 49ers should have fired him in his first year as a defensive coordinator? Because he wants to blame somebody. Honestly, the person that should have been blamed, and I said this, and I said it going into the game, if Kyle Shanahan stops running the ball in this game and costs the 49ers a chance to win a Super Bowl, I would fire him after the game. Now, they're not going to fire him because they're going to wait another season because there's still John Lynch there, and who's his best friend? Right. John Lynch. So John Lynch will keep him because this is the second Super Bowl Kyle Shanahan's been in, and the second one he's lost against Patrick Mahomes. Now, what is it going to take? Another Super Bowl loss? Or how about a playoff loss? A bad playoff loss to finally know that this guy can't win the big game?
Yeah, a lot of the 49ers defensive issues in the fourth quarter and play calling. There's a little bit that's on Wilkes, but Wilkes called a great game besides that. There's no reason.
I thought he played. I thought he called a great game, and I thought the defense played fantastic. I mean, Young finally showed up. I mean, Nick Bosa was all over the place. I don't know in the last 2 weeks. Well, it hasn't been 2 weeks. 3 weeks because they had 2 weeks off for the Super Bowl.
Right.
But in the last 2 games, I thought Nick Bosa completely disappeared. Yeah. Now, he played okay in this game, but he didn't make a big splash in this game. He wasn't the guy that made the big splashes. It was Hargrave. He played very well. And obviously, Chase Young, who is going to be expecting a big contract in the offseason. It won't be by the 49ers.
Nope.
Maybe it'll be somebody else.
Maybe he'll go back to the Bears with his friend Montez Sweat.
Maybe that too. But, I mean, they've got the money.
Yeah,
so I don't know if Chase Young is a game changer, but he was a game changer in that particular game. And maybe because the offensive line decided, hey, you know what? Let's keep Nick Bosa out on the outside. And if Chase Young's going to beat us, let him beat us.
Right, which I think is what the game plan was anyway, because you saw the 49ers get a lot of free rushes on the interior too, because they had one thing, they had a backup offensive lineman playing because Tooney was out. So Creed Humphrey could only do so much. Donovan Smith on that left side really struggled against Chase Young, like you were saying. So the other guys were double teaming Bosa, and Bosa got his pressure at certain points, but he was more impactful in the run game than it was as a pass rusher. And the interior rushes were really defining this game, because you look at both interior rushes doing well. It just Mahomes was able to improvise more than Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy got flustered when he got in interior rushes, especially on third down. I think the 49ers did it more often, but the Chiefs did it more in impactful parts of the game. And that's why the Niners were held to field goals. Like you were saying, the red zone play calling could have been better from Kyle Shanahan. And I think that was the same issue he had against the Chiefs in the fourth quarter the last time, when Chris Jones was dominating against their running backs. They never put a fullback, or they never put Kittle in the game as a blocker, as a tight end, to guard the middle. They keep putting him on the outside, which is fine in certain instances. But when you see this interior rush dominating like the Chiefs did in the second half, they have to have some adjustments.
And Brock Purdy is a young kid, and I don't know if he's the answer. And I'm going to get into this going into the offseason. I believe John Lynch should reach out to Kirk Cousins' agent. He is going to be available this offseason. I don't know how much money he's going to want. It looks like he wants $80 million for 2 years. Yep. I don't know if Kansas City could give him that. I mean, I'm not kidding. If the 49ers could give him that. But I could say this. If they could bring Kirk Cousins in and move Brock Purdy as the backup quarterback and gives him a chance to kind of sit behind a veteran quarterback that knows how to run this offense, that has an understanding how to run this offense, as he did in Washington, as he's done, with Mike Shanahan there, and with Kyle Shanahan there as the offensive coordinator or quarterback coach. I think it could benefit Brock Purdy to learn behind Kirk Cousins. But I think when you look at this particular, game, you wonder if it was too big for Brock Purdy. And he made a lot of mistakes early in the game. You saw him throw the ball, throw him outside, throw him inside, throwing to the ground. He couldn't get, his accuracy was all over the place. He couldn't get the ball into the places he could throughout the regular season and throughout certain playoff games. He was not as efficient as he's been throughout the season. And everybody said this guy was an MVP candidate. This guy is the next big thing. He's the next Tom Brady. He's not Tom Brady. Okay? He proved to you in the Super Bowl he is not Tom Brady. Now, that doesn't mean he can't become Tom Brady in the future. That doesn't mean he can't be the quarterback of the 49ers of the future. But the 49ers haven't won a Super Bowl in 30 years. I think this year was the 30-year mark.
Yep.
It's been 30 years since the 49ers brought home a championship. Could you imagine when you look at all these great teams, how many times have they been to the Super Bowl in the last 20 years?
3.
3 times and choked in all those games. And by the way, they were up in all those games. That tells you one thing, that this organization for years was trying to find that next big thing, that next quarterback. They thought it was Colin Kaepernick. It wasn't. They thought it was Alex Smith. It wasn't. Then they bring in, they trade up and they get Trey, and Trey wasn't the guy. He wasn't the answer. They traded for Jimmy Garoppolo. He wasn't the answer. Now they bring in a 7th round draft pick, a last pick in the 7th round. And I'm not saying he's not the guy, but I don't know if he is. And that tells me one thing. Are you going to go into the season next year with Brock Purdy, again with Brock Purdy, when you know if it comes down to the big game or when the lights are on him and the camera's on him, could he make the throw? Could he make the passes? Could he make the play, the big play to win a Super Bowl? Could he beat a Patrick Mahomes? Could he beat an Aaron Rodgers? Could he beat any of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL if it came down to it? Those questions have to be answered in the offseason. My answer is you go after Kirk Cousins. There's a lot of reasons why I would go after Kirk Cousins, because he understands the way Kyle Shanahan likes to play his game. The guy's got a tremendous arm. He's so accurate. And if he didn't get hurt and he didn't tear his Achilles early in the season the way he did, he might have been the MVP of the league.
If you're going to hang on to Purdy and make him the best that he could be, you're going to have to improve areas that go beyond your just individual scheme, because the 49ers, we know, have talent, but it seems like when either something gets broken within the offensive line or somebody's hurt, it really rattles Brock Purdy. And you saw that in this game. Deebo Samuel got hurt. The Niners could barely move the ball in the third quarter. George Kittle got hurt in overtime. They had the one nice drive with McCaffrey, but that was really it. They didn't really move the ball much in overtime when Kittle got hurt. And you saw that in the middle of the season too, when Deebo was hurt. The offense looked broken. They had that 3-game losing streak. Deebo comes back off the bye week. The Niners offense is back flowing. Kyle Shanahan has to learn to be able to adjust to that kind of thing in a longer term, because Deebo Samuel, remember, got hurt in the Packers game. It took a while for their offense to get going in that game. So they have to be a little more off script. Maybe John Lynch has to get some guys to get more conventional systems into this game, because Brock Purdy's never going to grow into the quarterback that they think he's going to be if they keep just trying to do the same things, because good defensive coordinators we've seen have been able to take those things away so far, like Steve Spagnuolo did in this game.
And they might lose Brandon Ayuk
Yes.
in the offseason. He could go to free agency, and it looks like he might. So now you're going into the season with Deebo Samuel, who can't stay healthy. You're going into a season with George Kittle, who can't stay healthy, and Christian McCaffrey, who has been healthy for the past year, but throughout his career has not been. So you're going into the season not as dominant, or maybe not as dangerous as you were going into the season this year. And that should worry a guy like Kyle Shanahan, because Kyle Shanahan's a great coach. He's a great offensive coach. That's great. But when it comes down to the big game, when it comes down to when the clock is ticking, could Kyle Shanahan draw up the right play? Could Kyle Shanahan coach against a better offense if he has to play defensive coordinator? And I don't think he can. He blames Steve Wilks. And yes, he called a timeout early in the fourth quarter because he didn't like the scheme that Steve Wilks was running. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs were on their 35-yard line. And he didn't like the way they were running. By the way, they scored on that play, by the way.
Right.
But to me, it's not – I'm not going to put this on Steve Wilkes. It's not his fault. And I think he's just had bad luck when he decided to go to Arizona. He was there for a year. It didn't work out there. He gets fired. Then he jumps ship. He goes to a few teams, and then he comes over here to the 49ers. He takes the job. I mean, there's been a lot of good defensive coordinators. We all know DeMeco Ryan, who's been successful. Robert Saleh, not really, but hey, he was a good defensive coordinator there, probably one of their best. He's just another defensive coordinator that choked in the Super Bowl. That's the facts. DeMeco Ryan was never a Super Bowl defensive coordinator.
Nope.
But he had a chance to coach a defense that went to the NFC title game last year and just couldn't get over the hump. Maybe because they lost Brock Purdy early in the game. But I don't even know if they win that game against the Eagles, even if Brock Purdy was playing in that game. And I'm not throwing Brock Purdy to the wolves. I'm not throwing him to the alligators like they're chewing on his, his balls or something. All right, I'm not doing that. Maybe they should, but whatever. I'm just speaking the truth here. Brock Purdy just didn't have an efficient game. He didn't show up in the biggest game and on the biggest stage. He's a young kid. And when you go against a guy like Patrick Mahomes, a guy that for some reason, no matter who he's playing with, finds a way to win. And that is an elite quarterback. Those are the guys that you see year in and year out, no matter how big the game is, show up to the game, and they're bigger than the game.
Right, and that's the difference in the coaching when you look at this matchup, because the Niners did a great job taking out Travis Kelce in the first half, like we were saying. He didn't have his second catch of the game until late in the third quarter, but the Chiefs were still able to move the ball to other pieces amidst all that. And Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes have the biggest reason to do with that. We have not seen that yet from Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy on a consistent basis. Now, Juwan Jennings did have a nice game, might have won Super Bowl MVP if the 49ers held on. He had a phenomenal game, but where is those other targets coming from if these guys are either taken out?
Christian McCaffrey wins the MVP.
Christian McCaffrey could definitely win the MVP.
I mean, look at the numbers.
Right.
You draw it up.
Oh, that's
right
true.
here.
He also had 8 catches.
Christian McCaffrey had 22 carries, 80 yards, 3.64 in average, which is over the average. And then obviously he had 8 receptions, 80 yards, and a touchdown. That flea flicker that he caught, which gave him the lead 10-3 going into the half.
Right.
So, I mean, Christian McCaffrey was all over the place. For some reason, they decided not to run the ball in the second half. And that is Kyle Shanahan's way. I don't understand it. It makes no sense. Go ask the Atlanta Falcons. They should have been Super Bowl champions. Go ask the 49ers 5 years ago. They should have won the Super Bowl up 10 with 4.5 minutes left of the game. Shame on him not running the ball. It is his fault. And by the way, he had Frank Gore, who was one of the more efficient running backs in history. So that's his fault. It's Kyle Shanahan's fault.
Yeah, there's a lot of shades of
Shades of Grey, baby.
Super Bowl.
You like that movie?
No. Super Bowl.
Did you ever see that movie?
No. Super Bowl.
50 Shades of Grey. You never seen
I never
movie?
saw it. No.
Oh, I think you would like it.
All right.
I don't think you would understand it, but I think you would like it.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. But yeah, there were definitely shades of that Super Bowl 54 collapse too, because you saw what the Chiefs did in the second half of that game against Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson and those guys. When the Chiefs were able to clog the middle, the 49ers could not run the ball, and they were very inefficient. Christian McCaffrey, if he was shut down at any point, was the third quarter, and I think that's what deviated them away from running. But even so, you had no Deebo Samuel at that time. Like, why are you still trying to trust these other guys to get it going? And Brock Purdy is not this super mobile guy that's going to escape interior pressure the same way these other quarterbacks are going to. So if you were going to have that kind of game plan, you had to have a better game plan of countering that, whether it's do more bootlegs, do more outside concepts, or just have somebody block for Chris Jones, not leaving him on block, because your interior offensive line was getting carved up in that game.
And the Chiefs' defense was fantastic. They were. In the second half, they absolutely dominated the line of scrimmage. They wouldn't let Brock Purdy do anything really in the second half. And that's why they decided in the fourth quarter to run the ball. Because Brock Purdy could not make a throw. Every time he stepped out of the pocket and tried to move inside and out of the pocket to give himself some time to get the ball to an open guy, there was nobody open. There was no routes to be thrown to.
Right.
And that has a lot to do with McDuffie. And by the way, give a shout out to Steve Spagnuolo.
Yes.
He was fantastic. His play calling in that game, fantastic. And by the way, congratulations. He signed a new contract. And he's still going to be the defensive coordinator moving forward for the Kansas City Chiefs. Well-deserved.
Yeah.
He will be up for a job next year. I promise you guys that. If Steve Spagnuolo has another good year like he had this year, for all the time that they've wasted and people have wasted not looking at him or interviewing for a coaching job, shame on them. Because Steve Spagnuolo, it didn't work out over there with the Rams. It didn't. And he was there for 3-4 years. It didn't work out.
Yeah.
And then Fisher took over, and it didn't work out for him either.
Mr. 7-9.
It didn't work out for him either. And he was in a Super Bowl with the Titans a couple, years and years before that.
Yeah, with our friend.
He never won either.
With our friend Keith Bullock.
Yes. So let's be honest here. Spagnuolo deserves a lot of credit because Spagnola's defense is one that kept the 49ers out of the end zone and made them become one-dimensional. Because what Spagnuolo did was he drove them to move the ball outside of the hashes. What I mean by that is when they were inside of the Kansas City Chiefs, where they could score, where 30-yard line, 35, 40-yard line, they made Brock Purdy one-dimensional. And what happened is Brock Purdy had to throw these screen passes to Christian McCaffrey. They were using Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel on the outside because they couldn't get the ball anywhere close to the end zone. They were throwing short passes because every time they were running, different slants or using different schemes, it wasn't working against Spagnola's defense. And he was putting pressure. He was blitzing. He was doing everything. And by the way, Jones wasn't the big name. He wasn't the reason why their defense dominated in this game.
Not in the first half, but in the second half.
No, but he really wasn't. He
No.
wasn't the big name, the dominating force on this team. You know who was the dominating force on this team? Nick Bolton.
Yes.
Nick Bolton. I mean, how many times have you heard that name this year? Nick Bolton. He was the best defensive player. Him and McDuffie were the two best defensive players for the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday for Super Bowl 58.
Yep. And Nick Bolton's a guy that has been very underrated for a while.
Yeah.
Fast linebacker.
Yep.
And that's the thing that guards the flats of what the 49ers do a lot. Now, obviously, Christian McCaffrey still got his. He had 8 catches for 84 yards or whatever. And they were able to get him off him at certain points, but he was roving everything to take away those screen passes. Both teams really did a great job screen tackling in this game, too. Like, the Chiefs were trying a bunch of screen passes, too, and they couldn't get anything going either. Greenlaw and Warner were shutting those angles down. So they both had good defensive game plans. It's just the Chiefs were able to adjust better.
And I didn't know that Buckner was that efficient, man. I mean, he's an unbelievable kicker. That 57-yard field goal kick, unbelievable, record-breaking, by the way. And shout out to Fish for posting that up. Super Bowl record, 57 yards.
And Moody had it first. Like, Moody got the 55, and then it lasted for 2 quarters.
Let me tell you something about Moody. And I'm going to say this very, very nicely, because if he actually kicked that 1 point, that extra point conversion,
right,
maybe the game's different.
Yeah, it forces them to have to go for a touchdown.
Absolutely. Maybe the game's different. And Kansas City blocked it, whatever. But I knew something crazy was going to happen. And when they blocked that, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And Moody's been a very good kicker all season long. Those one point conversions, he was so efficient this year. I think he missed one all season long. And then he goes to the Super Bowl, and one of the biggest kicks of his career, he misses. It was blocked.
Yeah, and he missed a lot of field goals in the regular season, but you're right. He only missed 1 extra point.
One extra point this year. I was looking at the numbers.
Yeah.
1 all season long. And the one big one, he misses in Super Bowl 58, which cost them a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and Jay Feely was even saying it too, like he kicked it low. Like a lot of that was on him because it was a good snap and they didn't get a lot of penetration either. But yeah, those kind of things definitely impact play calling. And a 4-point game and a 3-point game is very different when it comes to the Chiefs having more available to work with in the playbook. And that's why I know everyone was making a big deal about Kyle Shanahan with taking the ball first in overtime, but I also think that helps expand the playbook a little more too. It's not like college football where you're going to score. Everyone's comparing it to college football overtime. They start with the ball at the 25-yard line. That's different. Yeah, of course you want to take it second there, but you're moving down the field with a lot more available in your playbook, and especially when George Kittle got hurt too, that made a big difference in the game. But some of the players not knowing, yes, that I will blame on him.
Before we go to a quick break, and we'll do our our sports minute. I just want to get into this because, and by the way, congratulations to Patrick Mahomes on 3 MVPs. He had a sensational game, 34 for 46, 333 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. It was horrible in the first half. He did not look like Patrick Mahomes in the first half, but in the second half, he completely took over the game, and that's what great quarterbacks do. So congratulations to Patrick Mahomes. Congratulations to Taylor Swift and the Swifties. I know they were all happy and dancing around and prancing, going to the after party. So congratulations to them too. I'm not congratulating Travis Kelce. Okay, it was despicable what he did, and I don't care what they were at the parties and everything with Andy Reid, and they were having a good time with Andy Reid in his suit and everything. If I was Andy Reid, I would not be talking to Travis Kelce. Because on national television, the way he acted and the way after the first quarter, him running to Andy Reid and getting into his face and practically pushing him, if he pushed a referee or pushed anybody else like that, he gets thrown out of the game. He gets thrown out of the game. But Andy Reid, of course, needed Travis Kelce, and you see that about coaches. When it comes to winning, you will do anything to win. So, again, we're going to go to a sports minute. I want to mention something that happened today. And I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I was driving and there was a bunch of posts all over social media on what happened today at the Kansas City Chiefs parade. And it is absolutely despicable. Despicable. It's a celebration. You're celebrating your team winning back-to-back Super Bowls, 3 in the last 6 seasons. 3. You have arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. You have arguably one of the best tight ends of all time. You have arguably one of the best coaches of all time. And you should be partying, enjoying it. And instead, what happens? Somebody pulls out a weapon and kills or hurts innocent people. Innocent people. Now, I don't know the whole story behind this, and I don't know who was the one that pulled out the gun. I'm sure he was arrested or she was arrested. I don't even know.
It's in custody now.
Okay, so I don't even know. But it was absolutely disgusting. And this has been going on throughout the world. All the craziness that's going on in the world, all these disgusting things that are happening to innocent people, children, married couples, gay couples. It's despicable. Racism. Anti-Semitic murders throughout the world, throughout the country. And we should be standing together, enjoying the great Super Bowl that we watched, Super Bowl 58, which was the highest, most watched Super Bowl in history. I think over 125 million people watched the Super Bowl this past year. Most ever. Maybe it was because of Taylor Swift. Who knows? But to see something like that today, to hear about something like that today, makes me disgusted. It really does. In the NFL, I don't know how the NFL is going to speak about this or put out a thought about it. It's horrible. It is a horrible, horrible thing to watch innocent people get hurt, one person die. It's disgusting. I think there has to be more security. I think that these parades, everybody's got to be frisked. If they're going to be over there, there's multi-million-dollar players, but not even that. I'm not even speaking about the players. Innocent young children that are standing there watching their favorite players hoist up a trophy, to wave to them, to blow kisses to them. And after seeing all that, not even knowing what's going to happen right behind them, a gun gets pulled out and shot up, and somebody gets hurt.
I think there were 11 kids in intensive care, and they found 9 of them had gunshot wounds in them.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrible. The NFL should reach out. The Kansas City Chiefs should reach out. Hopefully all these kids survive. Intensive care, that's not a good sign.
No.
So hopefully the Chiefs do right and go and visit those kids and visit those families. It is a horrible, horrible story.
So sad. It sickens me every time when I say that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, yes, we're going to get into, obviously, the inductees of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And yes, the Bears say they will not trade the number 1 pick unless there's a historic haul that goes to them. When we come back, we'll get into that. But first, our Sports Minute with Tommy Scoops.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? That is correct. This is the Loudmouth Sports Minute. I am your guy, Tommy Scoops, to give you guys all the rundown. And for today's scoop, in NFL news, the San Francisco 49ers, just 3 days after losing the Super Bowl, have fired defensive coordinator Steve Wilkes after just 1 season with the team. In other NFL news, the Chargers are hiring Mark Trestman, former Bears head coach, as the senior offensive assistant to join Jim Harbaugh's coaching staff. Shifting over into NBA news, on the Pat McAfee show, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said that Las Vegas is actually a candidate for a team that will be moving into the expansion team, possibly the expansion team. And in other news, two-way Cavaliers forward Amani Bates is going to be replacing the G League Ron Holland in the Rising Star game during All-Star Weekend. Now it's time to head over to Scoops and Scores, where I'm going to give you a quick rundown of all the games and scores going on right now. Right now, Charlotte has a 44-39 lead over Atlanta, with Jalen Brunson leading the game with 12 points right now. And the Knicks are currently having a 39-34 lead over the Magic. Jalen Brunson actually has the most points in the game with 20 points apiece. And Miami is actually trailing 46-44 right now to Philadelphia. Right now, Tyrese Maxey has the most points with 12 points as of right now. And right now, the Nets and the Celtics are actually tipping off, with Dennis Schroeder having the most points at 4 points right now. The Celtics are currently up 12-4 over the Nets. There's 2 other games right now that are currently at 0 that are just tipping off, with Chicago and Cleveland actually playing right now, and Indiana and Toronto. But for right now, that is all the time that I have for you guys. I'm going to send it back over to the boys for the Loudmouth.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy. Petey, we're still waiting for Sean Smith. I don't know what's going on, but hopefully everything's okay with Sean. I know he's having problems with some family issues, but hopefully we see Sean tonight. I get a big shout out to Sean. I know, he couldn't wait to come on the show and stick up for the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, he might have to do it next week. But a shout out to Sean Smith. Remember, go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me, Speedy Petey, and Sean Smith. All you have to do to tune in and listen to our show is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. So hopefully Sean gets in. I know he was dealing with some stuff, and a shout out to him. I hope everything's okay. I want to get into the Hall of Fame. 7 players were inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame this past weekend, and 5 of them are defensive players. Broncos linebacker Randy Gradisher got in on one of the last years on the ballot. He is the Broncos all-time leader in tackles with 2,049. Steve McMichael, who played over a decade with the Bears, love Steve McMichael, by the way, and had 95 career sacks, got in on one of the last years of the ballot. Pass rusher Julius Peppers, loved him, and Dwight Freeney got in this year. Peppers finished with 159.5 sacks in his career, and Freeney finished with 125.5. I still don't understand why John Abraham's not in. Okay, how is Dwight Freeney in and John Abraham isn't? He had 132 sacks. How is he not in the Hall of Fame? It makes no sense. Patrick Willis got in despite retiring after 8 seasons. Another guy, John Abraham, had a better career than Patrick Willis, but he's going into the Hall of Fame only in 8 career years in the NFL. Got in after having second most deflected passes, tied for the most forced fumbles and the most solo tackles among linebackers. Andre Johnson became the first Texan player elected into the Hall of Fame, finishing with 1,062 catches, 14,185 receiving yards, and 70 touchdowns in a 14-year career. Devin Hester got in with 12th with the 12th most kick returns yards and most kick return touchdowns in NFL history, and third most punt return yards and most punt return touchdowns in NFL history. Here's the thing. Devin Hester should have been a Hall of Famer a long time ago. I don't understand this. I understand he was a career punt returner. He was a career special teams guy. I understand that. Special teams plays a big part on winning, okay? And Devin Hester was everything to the Chicago Bears. Chicago had not very good offenses. They had a good running game. They never had a good wide receiver. Very rarely. I mean, they had Brendan Marshall for a little bit.
He was a free agent. It wasn't even homegrown.
But they never had good wide receivers. They've always had good running backs. They always had good special teams. And one of the reasons why they had good special teams and they would score, and a lot of their touchdowns came from Devin Hester. And Devin Hester should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. I think he's the greatest special teams player I've ever seen, maybe of all time. You want to speak about kickers and how important kickers are, like Adam Vinatieri and all those other guys. Devin Hester was everything to the Chicago Bears. For the time that he needed to get the points or he needed to score, he was always the guy that you could depend on punt return, kick returns, everything. The guy was amazing. So congratulations to Devin Hester. Andre Johnson, another great wide receiver. And I know because I watched him play against Darrelle Revis, very well deserved. Another guy that for years he was being shadowed by Calvin Johnson, Antonio Brown. I mean, even Julio Jones, all these other guys. And he was there. He was their elder. He was there before they were. But he never got the respect because every single time he would be seen against one of these top-end wide receivers, he was always looked at the second-tier wide receiver behind them. But the guy's numbers show everything on why he's a Hall of Famer. 1,062 catches, 14,185 receiving yards, and 70 touchdowns in 14 years. He was efficient. He was averaging over 1,000 yards a season. There's not many efficient wide receivers over the years in a 14-year span that you can argue that was better than Andre Johnson. I almost said Antonio Brown.
Yeah,
Andre Johnson.
Bad quarterback played for the first 8 years of his career.
Yeah, that's another thing. Nobody was throwing to him. Third-string quarterbacks. Yep. Nobody that you would ever compare to one of the elite quarterbacks of this era or that era. So, congratulations to him. Patrick Willis is interesting. It's interesting because he played 8 seasons. Was he one of the best linebackers in the league? Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Top 3. No question that he was. But usually, if you only play 8 seasons as a linebacker, you don't make it. You don't make it, no matter how good you are. How many linebackers over the years that played 8-9 years that were just as good as Patrick Willis never made it? I mean, Klecko, it took him years. You're speaking about probably 35 years before he gets inducted to the Hall of Fame. Is Klecko better than Patrick Willis? I would think so. He was part of the sack exchange. Patrick Willis never won anything. He never won a Super Bowl. Klecko did. So I know everybody sits here and they want to make arguments on, you want to see this, you want to see that, you want to argue this, you want to argue that. Klecko won a championship, didn't he? I think he did.
With another team.
I think he won I think he won a championship. Not with the Jets, not in 1969.
No.
But I think Klecko did win a championship. But I argue when I look at players like Julius Peppers, well deserved.
Yeah,
first ballot Hall of Famer. He should as soon as he was going to be picked, he should have been picked as a first ballot, and he was. And Dwight Freeney, another guy. I think this is his second year or third year.
I think his second year because there were a lot of other pass rushers that got in last year, like Marcus Ware, and I think Freeney was the other one that was questionably left out at the time. And now this year, that version of that has been Jared Allen.
Julius Peppers is a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he went in on his first ballot. He deserves it. I mean, who's better than Julius Peppers in the time that he was dominant? Maybe one or two guys were just as good as him. Julius Peppers, for like 5 years, was the best pass rusher in the league. In the league, and there were a lot of good pass rushers at that time. Dwight Freeney being one of them. He was much better than Dwight Freeney. And we can go up and down some of the great pass rushers that are in the Hall of Fame right now that he played against, that he was better than. So Julius Peppers, well-deserved. I love Steve McMichael. Loved him. I loved watching him. I was a kid, obviously, with that Bears 1985 team. I never got it, but I've seen videos of him. He was a wrestler. I mean, for years he would go on a WCW cards, and I got a chance to meet. I had actually got a chance to meet Steve McMichaels when he was on the WCW pay-per-view. I was at a pay-per-view. He was there. I didn't even know who he was, okay, until I got a chance to really get to know football like I did in my early years, from the ages of 12 and 13. But I knew wrestling, and I was at a WCW match. He was at a pay-per-view, and Steve McMichaels was there. And somebody introduced me to him. I forget who it was. This is Steve McMichaels. He played on that Bears team and blah, 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 blah. One of the greatest defenses of all time. Steve McMichaels was one of the more underrated defensive players on that team.
Yeah, 95 sacks is fourth most among defensive tackles in NFL history.
Yeah, so fantastic. And obviously Randy Gritshar, who I didn't know. Granishar, I'm sorry. I didn't know much about him until I got a chance to really look into his career. Fantastic career too, well deserved as well.
Yeah, he was the first of the wave of the Orange Crush defense that the Broncos strived with in the 80s, but he was on one of the Broncos Super Bowl teams in the 70s too, when they were kind of that newer team we talk about all the time, the AFL expansion, and he was one of those original guys that built up those linebackers and those corners to what they are now. And McMichael, like you're saying, Carl, like one of the most special personalities in the league at that time too, a really fiery guy for that 85 Bears defense and that defense for what it was. And Carl also brings up a good point. Maybe they tried to put Devin Hester in with some of the other Chicago Bears too. They like to do that with certain teams. You talked about it last year with the Jets. They put
Devin Hester as a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Right.
He should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's a shame that the NFL dragged this as long as they did.
Sure.
This guy was the best punt returner we've ever seen. Ever. And there'll never be a punt returner as good as Devin Hester because the game is different.
Yeah.
The game's different. The rules are different now. You're not going to see a guy run the ball like this guy did. I mean, and then they moved him as a wide receiver, and he was pretty efficient too. I mean, he wasn't as good as a punt returner, but I mean, we've seen this. Tyreek Hill was another guy.
Yep.
He was drafted to be a punt returner. And what did he do? He transitioned his game into a wide receiver. Now he's the best wide receiver in football.
Same thing with Adam Thielen. He was drafted as a punt returner initially too.
Yeah.
And
Minnesota, yeah.
Yeah, undrafted, and he became a great wide receiver after that as well. And Carl also says he actually played more sides of the ball more than people think. Yeah, he was actually drafted as a corner, and they had enough corners there already. They had Nathan Vasher. They had obviously Peanut Tillman on that team, so they didn't really need him to. But when he emerged as when one of those guys got hurt, he sometimes emerged as a slot corner and still played well. I think those beginning parts of his career, but then they tried him at wide receiver, and that really didn't work out. And then he just obviously stuck to punt returning. But a lot of people are complaining, oh, he didn't even have the most punt return yards all time. Yeah, that's because the game changed because of somebody like Devin Hester, and obviously all this concussion research now that they're trying to take away kickoffs. And there's a reason why he doesn't have as much 12th in overall return yards, but that doesn't mean he wasn't the most per carry.
Congratulations to the 7 new members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's a fantastic list. 7 players now. I think last year was like 5 or 4.
That was 5. Yeah.
It was 5. So now 7 players going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And by the way, it's not easy to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So Antonio Gates did not get inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Him and Jared Allen are considered the biggest snubs.
I have no idea why he's not in the Hall of Fame. Next year, he'll be inducted into the Hall of Fame. This guy, you can argue, and everybody keeps talking about Gronk and Travis Kelce and Tony Gonzalez. Antonio Gates has just as good a numbers as all of those guys. I mean, he was as efficient. He played with Phillip Rivers. For anybody that wants to, and by the way, he was a basketball player, transitioned his game into football. He was going to be a pro NBA player. He was getting drafted to an NBA team. I think he was being looked at as a late first round draft pick. Mm-hmm. And he decides, hey, you know what? I think he played his senior year of college football. And then he goes and he says, you know what? I have a better chance of being a good NFL player. And boy, oh boy, did he ever. He goes down as one of the best tight ends to ever play the game. And that the success of that Chargers teams. Everybody wants to give it to LaDainian Tomlinson. Everybody wants to give it to Phillip Rivers. And even the defenses, Sean Merriman and all these other guys that were a part of those defenses, great defenses. One of the main reasons why that team was as efficient as they were for all those years was because of Antonio Gates.
Sean Merriman, I saw a tweet of his. He was livid that Antonio Gates did not get in. Like, he's third most receiving yards for a tight end all time and most touchdowns all time for a tight end, and he doesn't get in. I mean, that's...
They always snub people, man.
They're just devaluing the position at that point. Like, are you just going to not reward tight ends like you did with Devin Hester, not rewarding kick returners? Like, it makes no sense. Like,
he's fantastic.
And by the way, Beef, he's a better tight end all time than Jason Witten. I remember you arguing that years ago.
And listen, Jason Witten will probably get into the Hall of Fame too.
He should. I'm just saying.
His numbers are right there. And now we're seeing all these tight ends start to get credit for what they were and how they transitioned the game. When Antonio Gates was starting to develop as a tight end, the tight end position was devalued. It was never looked at as a valuable position.
Right.
It was Antonio Gates. It was Tony Gonzalez. It was Jason Witten. Those type of guys, Gronkowski, Aaron Hernandez. I'm going to mention the name, but Aaron Hernandez. They transitioned the game. They changed the tight end position. So you have to give Antonio Gates a lot of credit for how good he was. And yes, you're right, Carl. Gates was he was super durable. He absolutely was. He played hurt. He played injured. He was always efficient, and he played a significant amount of games. I think every single year he was averaging between 14 and 15 games.
Yeah, I think his last year in the league, I think, was 2014. I remember I drafted him in the last round of my fantasy league, thinking, all right, this guy's old. He's not going to do much, but I'll take a flyer on it because he's great. And he still was like the 6th best tight end that year.
And listen, Carl makes a joke of it, hanging with Hernandez, but I only mention Aaron Hernandez because his game changed the game.
Sure.
I mean, he became that tight end that can run the ball. You can use him in so many different ways in an offense. And that's what the Patriots did before he went crazy. But I mean, Aaron Hernandez, he was another guy that transitioned the game. Now you look at tight ends that are starting to be used in so many different ways. Why? Because the Patriots changed the way you use tight ends.
Yeah, and the value of them is becoming much more efficient and effective for offenses if they can stay healthy too. Look at the 4 teams that are remaining in the AFC and NFC championship games. You have Mark Andrews, Sam Laporta, Travis Kelce, and George Kittle.
Absolutely. The Texans won both offensive and defensive rookies of the year, CJ Stroud and Will Anderson. Another team that does it. The Jets did it the year before. Only the 4th team that the same team has won both rookies of the year in NFL history. The Browns won 3 awards, with Kevin Stefanski as the winning coach of the year, Joe Flacco, who a lot of people were attacking, winning comeback player of the year, and Myles Garrett winning defensive player of the year, which we predicted.
Yes.
Lions general manager Brad Holmes won executive of the year as the Lions made their first NFC championship since 1991. Christian McCaffrey won offensive player of the year, as we predicted, and became the 3rd player in NFL history to have 2,000 scrimmage yards for 2 different teams. Lamar Jackson won the MVP, the 2nd of his career. He is one of only 5 players to win 2 MVP awards in his first 6 seasons of his career. So Lamar Jackson, we knew, was going to win the MVP. He was definitely going to win the MVP after what he did to the 49ers at the end of the season. Just completely dominated them in San Francisco. I think he put up 5 touchdowns. He was unbelievable. And listen, he didn't show up in the big game when he needed to. He did not beat Patrick Mahomes. He did not beat Kansas City. I'm not going to blame him. I mean, there was a lot of misplays. Flowers dropping the ball in the end zone. The touchback absolutely cost them for going maybe to overtime. Maybe they beat him in overtime in Baltimore. Who knows? So he well-deserved for Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson was the most efficient quarterback throughout the season. Christian McCaffrey, to me, was the MVP of the year. I believe Christian McCaffrey was Offensive Player of the Year, and he was the MVP throughout the league. Christian McCaffrey was everybody's dream. When you look at a guy as good and as efficient as Christian McCaffrey, he can catch the ball, he can run the ball, he can dominate the line of scrimmage, and everybody knows he's going to get fed. Everybody knows he's going to touch the ball 25 to 30 times a game. You still can't stop him. He dominated the game. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If Kyle Shanahan kept feeding him the ball throughout the Super Bowl, they win the Super Bowl. He's dominant. 16 games, 272 carries, 1,459 rushing yards, 14 touchdowns, 67 receptions, 564 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns.
That's 21 total touchdowns. You don't get many seasons better than that.
I think Mostert is the only one that had close to that many
I think
touchdowns.
he had 18, yeah.
I think he had 18 for Miami.
Yep.
And he's nowhere close to Christian McCaffrey. So I didn't understand. Now, listen, we knew Lamar Jackson, the quarterback, was going to get it. But the best offensive player, the best player of the league this year was no argument Christian McCaffrey.
I think the other thing that alleviated it for Lamar Jackson was how well he played in the regular season against really good teams, too. Like playoff teams with winning records. They were blowing those teams out during the regular season. The Bengals, even though Burrow got hurt in the second game, both times was a blowout. You look at the 49ers, like you were talking about, the Lions, the Seahawks, these teams that were good teams. The Ravens were blowing them out of the water, and Lamar Jackson was a huge reason why.
It's unbelievable. But again, the NFL likes to vote quarterbacks as their MVPs. They do it every year. It's very rare do you see an MVP that's a defensive player or a running back or a wide receiver. I think Adrian Peterson was the last running back to win an MVP.
Yep, 2012.
And who was the last wide receiver to win an MVP?
I don't even know if there's been one.
Exactly. So there's never been one. It's usually sometimes there is a defensive player that wins an MVP, but that's rare too.
There was the one random lockout shortened season in 1982 where a kicker won it.
That's true too, which I didn't understand as well. I was born in 19.
You were just born.
Yes.
Yes.
Lions general manager Brad Holmes won the executive of the year. Well deserved.
Yes.
I mean, everything that Brad has done over the last 3-4 years building this team. Look at the draft stock and look at the draft picks he's had. The Lions have had a tremendous amount of draft stock over the years and could not get over the hump. Didn't pick the right guys, picked the wrong guys, and the organization completely fell apart. Well, they traded Matthew Stafford. They built on that trade. They bring in a guy like Jared Goff. Jared Goff they helped develop Jared Goff. No, it wasn't Sean McVay. It was Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson that developed Jared Goff. I mean, everything that you could say about this team and the development of this team had a lot to do with the executive of the year, and Brad Holmes, who hired Dan Campbell.
Yeah, and the late round draft picks are something that you always want to build a team with. And the Lions have found great value in that between their day 2 picks and their day 3 picks the last couple of years. And definitely Brad Holmes deserves a lot of credit. You could say, all right, they had Hutchinson, they had Jahmyr Gibbs, they had all these flashy late round for early picks, but it was the late round picks that really helped build this defense to what it's been. I know they still have issues with their corners, but their offensive line to what it's been. A lot of those guys besides Taylor Decker and Sewell were later round picks as well. And he deserves a lot of credit for all that.
Big surprise with Kevin Stefanski. I know you liked him. And
right, he was my number 2. I had DeMeco Ryans, but he was my number 2.
And there were stories coming out that DeMeco Ryans was going to win Coach of the Year. There were so many stories all over social media that he was the predominant winner of Coach of the Year. And then I watched the award show, and I was getting ready for DeMeco Ryan. I didn't even look at who won the awards. I watched the replay the day after. I think I watched it on Sunday before the Super Bowl. It was on the NFL Network. And I was watching and I was like, oh, DeMeco Ryans is going to win. Not Dan Campbell, even though I picked Dan Campbell as my Coach of the Year. And they called Kevin Stefanski. And I was shocked. But Kevin Stefanski, what he did with that Browns team this year, how many quarterbacks did he have?
4.
4 quarterbacks. And still almost won the division. I mean, if Baltimore wasn't as dominant as they were this year, how many wins did the Browns have? 11?
Browns had 11 and the Ravens had 13.
13. I mean, and the Ravens were fairly healthy all season long. They have Lamar Jackson. They have one of the best defense in the league. They had probably the best overall team in the NFL. And the Browns were right behind him in a very hard division. You had Pittsburgh. You have all these different teams. And the Bengals, who had an offseason, I think Joe Burrow coming back next year is going to make them one of the elite teams again. No question. But it was unbelievable that Kevin Stefanski won Coach of the Year. I'm not saying that he didn't deserve it. I was just surprised out of DeMeco Ryan and Dan Campbell, what they did this year. It's just unbelievable. I congratulations to Kevin Stefanski.
Well, they had so many other injuries on the offense, even besides the quarterbacks, between 3 offensive line. And Nick Chubb, Njoku was hurt a lot of the year. He came back in the second half, played great, but you had that. And on the defensive side of the ball, you had a lot of injuries in that secondary as well. And the defense was still able to hold up to be one of the best defenses in the league.
And Joe Flacco, I was surprised. And a lot of people were taking shots at this award going to him. Now, Joe Flacco was a big reason why they made the playoffs.
Sure.
So to throw Joe Flacco to the Wolves that he doesn't deserve it is crazy. Now, do I think he should have won it? No, I think Baker Mayfield should have won it. I think he deserved it. Everything that he did this year, taking over for that Buccaneers team, taking over for Tom Brady. I mean, arguably the greatest quarterback to ever play the game, and then showing up where everybody thought during this preseason that he was not even going to win the job, that they were going to go elsewhere, and then he wins the job and then puts up the numbers. His first year of throwing over 4,000 yards, he threw, I think, over 25 touchdowns. And by the way, who was he throwing to? I mean, whole season, yeah, he had Godwin and he had Mike Evans. Mike Evans stayed healthy all year. Godwin was up and down, up and down. I mean, they had a good running game, but nobody expected him to put up the numbers that he put up this year. And Mike Evans, I believe, will stay with the Buccaneers going into the offseason, especially bringing an offensive coordinator that Baker Mayfield loves, okay, because he's played in that kind of offense, and Mike Evans loves too. So I expect Baker Mayfield to re-sign with them, and I expect Mike Evans to re-sign with them. So I didn't agree with the Joe Flacco thing. No, Joe Flacco had a great season. He was 4-1. He had the numbers to stand out, and I know Fish has him up right now. He was 4-1 record quarterback for the Browns, 60.3% completion percentage, 1,616 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, helped lead the Browns to the playoffs, was out of the league until midseason. So he was sitting on his parents' sofa when the Browns reached out to him. Yes, he admitted he was sitting hanging out with his family when the Browns actually called him. Flacco barely won out over DeMar Hamlin, who played mostly special teams this season with the Bills after suffering cardiac arrest versus the Bengals last season. First of all, and I love DeMar Hamlin, and I'm never going to throw the kid under the bus for what he has done, and coming back and playing in the NFL again is an amazing story. It really is an amazing story. Now going back into comeback player of the year, DeMar Hamlin wasn't comeback player of the year. And the fact that he was second place over Baker Mayfield is crazy. And that's not taking shots at DeMar Hamlin. It's what Baker Mayfield did this year.
Yeah.
You want to give it to Joe Flacco? Give it to Joe Flacco. Baker Mayfield put up 4,000 yards.
Right. Baker Mayfield did it the whole season. Flacco did it only.
He took a Buccaneers team that shouldn't have even won that division. Yep. That had some people, including yours truly, thought they were going to be the worst team in the division.
Uh-huh.
Take them all the way to the playoffs and make a run. And if they beat the Lions, who knows? Who knows what happens?
Buccaneers Chiefs Super Bowl again.
Who knows? It's crazy.
They need the Buccaneers to take down the Chiefs because nobody else can.
And there's really nothing to say about Defensive Player of the Year. Myles Garrett was the most dominant force at the line of scrimmage this year. He was the best defensive player. Him and TJ Watt, you can argue. TJ Watt getting hurt at the end of the season probably hurt him.
Yeah.
I mean, if he played the last 2 or 3 games of the season and had 3 or 4 sacks in those games, maybe he wins Defensive Player of the Year again. But congratulations to Myles Garrett. Well deserved. CJ Stroud, definitely Offensive Player of the Year. And it always goes to a quarterback unless some crazy thing happens when a wide receiver just completely dominates, which we've seen one this year play absolutely fantastic for the Rams. But CJ Stroud was everything and everything you wanted from a quarterback, a rookie quarterback who a lot of people thought was going to fall out of the top 10. And he thought he was going to fall out of the top 10 for the way people were, putting him and prospecting him. But being drafted at number 2, he really had something to prove, and boy, did he prove it this year. I think the Texans have something very, very special over there. And Will Anderson, who I think had a very good defensive year. Do I think he was rookie defensive player of the year? The answer would be no. Okay, there were quite a few good corners this year that played very well. They didn't get a lot of respect. I mean, they weren't as popular as Sauce Gardner is,
no,
or coming out of the draft. But Was Will Anderson the best defensive rookie player of the year? I would say no. But
it's interesting because you look at the priority of positions that you look at the awards as well. It's a lot harder for corners to win because a lot of times a shutdown corner season is not valued in the awards for whatever reason the same way. You need a season like as good as what Sauce Gardner had in order to do that.
And here's and Fish puts up the numbers right here. Defensive player of the year, defensive rookie of the year for Will Anderson. 15 games, 7 sacks, 10 hurries, 15 quarterback knockdowns, 32 pressures, 45 tackles, PFF grade 81.8, which is pretty good. Yep. Houston Texans traded up after taking CJ Stroud for Will Anderson, criticized at the time. Both players won rookie of the years for both offensive and defensive. And by the way, it's back-to-back years as the Jets did it last year with Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner.
And the Saints did it, I think, 2017. And then the only other one before that was like in the 60s. Like, it's very hard to do.
It's very hard to do. And listen, I think Will Anderson's a good player. I'm not saying that he's not. And I'm not saying he didn't have a good season as a rookie. I just don't think he was defensive rookie of the year. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, now, I think it's just a lot of like, there were so many elite offensive rookies that like Will Anderson was probably like the 8th or 9th best overall rookie with all the good offensive rookies there were. So,
which coming out of this year's draft, it was more of a defensive draft
right.
than it was an offensive draft. And boy, oh boy, did that change everybody's mind after the season. But you never know what's going to happen in the draft. I mean, you look at players and you say, oh, he was an okay player or he was a good player in college. Does it transition into the NFL style of game, the speed of the game? Sometimes it does. Most of the time, it doesn't. Mm-hmm. And we've seen a lot of great players have great careers in college football, NCAA, where they're dominant. I mean, Reggie Bush being one of them. If you remember Reggie Bush, I mean, USC, he was, to me, one of the greatest running backs I ever seen play college football. One of the greatest. Ricky Williams is another one.
Oh, yeah.
Another great play for Texas. One of the greatest running backs I've ever seen. Obviously, he has mental issues, but never really became the player he could have become as a running back. And these are 2 running backs. Yep. There were defensive players. Vernon Gholston. Remember that one with the Jets? Ohio State Buckeye. I mean, I remember that pick. Number 6 by, Eric Mangenius. It was probably his worst pick he ever had. I mean, he had a lot of good picks. I mean, he drafted Darrelle Revis, too. So,
right.
But that was probably one of the worst picks I've ever seen the Jets have. Him and Kyle Brady, another one.
Oh, God.
It was horrible when they could have gotten Warren Sapp that year. I'll never forget that draft either. So, again, when you look at the draft, you just can't guess. You can't figure what these guys are going to be. It just has to happen. And the speed of the game. Warren Sapp was another one. A lot of people thought that his game from college wasn't going to transition into the NFL style of game because he was big and he was fat and lazy. That's what people said about him. And that's why a lot of teams passed up on him. And then the Buccaneers decided, I think at 15 or 14, hey, you know what? I'm going to take a chance with him. And boy, oh boy, he's an all-time great. So you just don't know. I mean, it don't matter. I'm Mekhi Becton. Everybody thought was going to be the next big thing. And look how that tub of lard. I don't even want to say it.
At that point, you just have to take a chance on the upside. Just like
I'm better off tying a sausage to the back of my pants and having him chase after that.
Yeah, maybe Mekhi Becton and Eddie Lacy could eat it together.
Man, it's disgusting, man. I'm not making any excuses for the Jets. And no offense to Mekhi Becton. I'm not trying to throw him under the bus. I like Mekhi, but when you get the nickname the big ticket, I mean, you're the losing ticket because every single time you're out there, we lose. So instead of the big tickets, shout out to Darrelle Revis for giving him the nickname. I'm gonna transition. I'm gonna change the name. I'm gonna say you're the losing ticket.
It could go into the trash can with Mekhi Becton's tickets and Robert Saleh's receipts that he's keeping.
Oh, no, I'll give you the receipts.
Carl also says Cedric Benson. Probably not as bad as the ones we listed, but yeah,
there were so many of them.
Yeah, but may
so
rest
many
in peace, Cedric Benson. So
how about Ryan Leaf? I mean, everybody was, arguing that he was better than Peyton Manning. It's a big law. It's a big mistake drafting Peyton Manning over Ryan Leaf. Oh, really? Peyton Manning's an all-time great, and Ryan Leaf is the all-time worst. So, I mean, we've seen it. There are quarterbacks that get drafted. Zach Wilson as the number 2 pick. Oh, Trey Lance, which I was speaking about with the 49ers.
Yep.
All these guys are no good. They don't fit the NFL style of game. And then you have guys that guys like Patrick Mahomes, who was traded. You saw the Kansas City Chiefs trade up from 21 or 22 to draft him at 10 or 11. And look what he turns out to be. He's an all-time great already.
Yeah, and, including your team, Carl, drafting the great Mitch Trubisky over Patrick Mahomes.
That's another one,
Which I don't know if the Bears necessarily had to draft a quarterback at the time, but they could have drafted so many other good players at the time too. They could have.
Mitch, the bitch. That's what we call him.
Yeah. Yes, Carl. Josh Rosen as well, and I'll take the L on Josh Rosen. I thought he was going to be really good, as well as I did with Blaine Gabbert as well.
I know you like Josh Rosen.
I did, and
I like Sam Darnold. I did. Yeah. I can't really say anything bad about Sam Darnold. I feel bad for Sam Darnold because he went to the Jets. He went to the Jets. That's the reason why he became a bad quarterback. Here you go, Sam.
Sam Darnold.
Come to my team.
Sam Darnold could have had a chance.
Come, baby. Come.
Sam Darnold.
Come, baby. Come, baby. Come, baby. Come. You remember that song? 90s song?
No.
Oh, you're terrible in music.
Sam Darnold could have been the first quarterback in that draft class to win a Super
Then again,
Bowl.
I think they're talking about something else when they're talking about come. So I don't know.
I'm not getting into that gross crap. No, Carl, I did not defend Trubisky. Don't bring me into defending Trubisky. That was a lot of it was Errol. A lot of it was the other guys in our network.
First of all,
that was not me.
First of all, I will admit that Mitch should not have been traded up for. Okay, I'll admit it. I did not, but I didn't think at that time, especially his first 2 years, he was that bad. I didn't think he was. It was after the fact, and I think Nagy ruined him. That's the facts. Your man, Kansas City's Nagy, the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, ruined Mitch the bitch. That's the facts, baby.
Yeah, nobody said the team was well built either, Carl. But
I say too. I always call him Mitch the bitch because that's what he is. He cries, and then I remember when he thought that he was. If I'm not mistaken, it was this year with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he should have started over. What's his name again?
Yeah, Kenny Pickett.
Not Pickett.
Oh, Rudolph.
Rudolph.
Yeah.
And they started Mason Rudolph over him, and he was bitching and moaning about it.
And now they cut him.
I mean, that's why they cut him.
Maybe the Bears will bring him back, Carl. You could use a better backup than Tyson Bagent.
Anybody, and you know what? It's a Jets-like thing to bring Mitch the bitch on that roster. You watch what's going to happen. They'll bring Mitchell Trubisky as the backup quarterback. They keep saying Woody Johnson comes out and says that the Jets didn't have a real backup quarterback, throwing Zach Wilson under the bus on media day. By the way, I know Josh Silverberg does not want me to say this because we were speaking on the way home when I was coming home from L.I. Langone. He told me, do not stick up for Woody Johnson. And he said some awkward things on media day. And I'm going to say this. Woody Johnson is not a smart man, okay? He's a good businessman. He knows how to sell medical stuff.
Is it all him, though?
Whatever. His family, all right? He's a good businessman when it comes to that. And he does open his pockets. He does spend money. He will do anything to make his football team good. As we all know, James Dolan likes to do as well with the Knicks. Here's the problem. When he comes out, and this is the same thing with Donald Trump, and I'm not going to get into politics because that's not what I like to do. But Donald Trump, to me, before he opened his mouth, was doing good things for America. I'm just speaking the truth. Every time he opened his mouth and threw people under the bus is what got Donald Trump into trouble. Same thing with James Dolan. James Dolan problems over the years stemmed with him getting involved with the team and the executives. If James Dolan stepped out of it and just stepped to the side and let the smart people, the executives, run the organization, James Dolan wouldn't be thrown to the wolves and people wouldn't be throwing him, throwing curveballs or actually strapping him to a tree and throwing darts at his head, okay? Because nobody likes James Dolan because of what he has done in the past to the Knicks organization and the Rangers organization, including Neil Smith. Yep. And then there's Woody Johnson. And there's a lot of bad owners here in New York. I could go on and on and on. Let's be honest.
Oh, yeah. There are also the Wilpons.
Here's the facts. And I'm going to say this very nicely for all the Jet fans. If Woody Johnson speaks, don't listen. Okay? That's my tip to all the Jet fans. For all you guys that want to kiss his ass and say, oh, Woody Johnson, he knows what he's talking about. He knows this, he knows that. Or even the Jet fans that don't know or don't think he knows what he's talking about, or just wants to kiss his ass because it's Woody Johnson and he's the owner of the Jets. I am a Jet fan. I do not want to hear my owner come out and tell me what we need to do in the offseason. I do not want to hear my owner tell me what they haven't done in the offseason, and I do not want to hear my owner tell me the quarterback that you've been sticking up for the last 3 seasons and why you drafted him at number 2 is not the quarterback that should have been backing up Aaron Rodgers this past season. Please do not speak, because it makes you look like a complete fool.
If he wasn't already.
Well, I'm just speaking the truth. As a Jet guy, that's the truth. I don't know why any Jet fan would think differently. All right, NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports that the Bears would not move from the number 1 pick unless it's a historical haul. He also mentions both of the Commanders picking at number 2 and the Patriots at number 3 are interested in moving up. Reports say that if the Bears were to draft Caleb Williams, the market for Justin Fields would be a 2nd and 4th round pick, which we saw Sam Darnold go for. The Steelers, Falcons, and Seahawks are reportedly interested in Fields if he becomes available. Star cornerback Jalen Johnson and wide receiver DJ Moore has mentioned they want Fields to remain as the quarterback. Last season, Justin Fields had 2,562 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions with 657 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. Caleb Williams had 3,633 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and a 68.6% completion percentage his last year at USC. And he cried about 3 times. So there you go. So if you want to cry, baby, draft Caleb Williams.
Hey, he says he can do everything Patrick Mahomes should do. Does that include cry?
I've never seen Patrick Mahomes cry 3 times in a season. I'll take that back. I've seen him cry other ways, like screaming at the referees
and Josh Allen.
And Josh Allen, but crying, like literally crying, and he's tears coming out of his eyes. No, I've never seen Patrick Mahomes do that. So I'm not taking shots at a person that cries and he's emotional about what he is and who he is as a player. But when you see or you hear a quarterback that's never stepped on an NFL field come out and say that he wants to own a piece of that football team if he gets drafted, is foolish. It's absolutely foolish. Now, it doesn't mean that Caleb Williams won't be a good quarterback, ladies and gentlemen, because I believe he will be. And I don't want to hear anybody. And by the way, we've had so many of these experts come on the show tell me this guy's going to suck, that guy's going to suck, and they were so wrong. Okay, so wrong. And I'm going to feed this to you guys. Caleb Williams, yes, you heard it. Caleb Williams will be an elite quarterback in the NFL. You've heard it from me. He's that good. He's that talented. He just needs to go to the right team. Is the Bears the right team? I don't know. Is the Patriots the right team? Definitely not. I do believe the Washington Commanders would be a good fit right there. I think they brought in Cliff Kingsbury, who I really like as an offensive coordinator. He developed Patrick Mahomes. He's helped develop Baker Mayfield. He's helped develop all these other quarterbacks that are in the NFL right now. He really did. Kyler Murray was also developed by Cliff Kingsbury. So I really like Cliff. And I think with a guy like Dan Quinn, who is a defensive mind, but I've seen him coach Matty Ice, and Matty Ice came out and said that he's one of the best coaches he's ever worked with. So it says a lot about Dan Quinn. Now, do I think Dan Quinn picked the right job? Do I think Dan Quinn should have taken this commander job? I think he fit better with the Seahawks. So I don't. But I think adding Cliff Kingsbury to his coaching staff really, really helps out and helps out the development of whoever they draft at number 2.
Yeah, you look at this value that they're trying to get out of this number 1 pick. It shows how cherished that somebody like Caleb Williams is from an athletic grade prospect. And all of our draft guys that we've had on, probably since the Caleb Williams hype really started, was saying this is the highest athletic grade for a prospect that they've ever seen. Now, we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. We have to see where he is when it comes to coachability and maturity and stuff like that, because somebody like Caleb Williams has been very cocky, has been, like you said, emotional, and that kind of thing could deter guys in an NFL locker room with grown men away. And so that kind of thing is going to be very interesting with whatever team takes him on. If there's a team that wants to trade up for him, at like one of those 2 teams we mentioned, or even somebody jumping from, say, the Atlanta Falcons, jumping from 8 to 1. That's a young team. Like you said, Washington maybe makes the most sense because of the offensive capabilities. Kingsbury knows Caleb Williams. He was on the staff with USC briefly this year before he went to Thailand or whatever that was. So that kind of thing, you're right. Sounds like a flashy move that the Commanders would make. And we've seen Chicago accumulate draft picks and draft very well with them. So it wouldn't surprise me if they took a haul like that with Caleb Williams. And you remember the last team to make a big trade like this to trade up to the beginning of the draft? It was the Washington Redskins at the time taking RG3. And how'd that go for them?
That's true. And again, I think Caleb Williams, if he goes to the right coach, he goes to the right team, I think he'll definitely be developed, and I think he'll definitely get developed if he goes to the right place. But he's definitely going to Chicago doesn't make any sense. I wouldn't want to go to a defensive coach who, by the way, will probably be fired after this year, no matter what happens. And Justin Fields is still a viable quarterback. I don't know why Chicago would step away and say, hey, you know what? We don't want him anymore. When if you look at his numbers, when he is and he does play, he's pretty damn good. So, I mean, there's only one quarterback that could put up the numbers that he puts up as far as running and throwing. That's Lamar Jackson.
Right.
And I think that he could be Lamar-esque. And that's why the Seahawks are interested. That's why the Steelers are interested. And that's why the Falcons. I think he has a better chance of going to the Falcons than any of those teams. If he goes to the Falcons, watch out.
Yeah.
When we come back, we will have our very special guest. He's been on the show before. We love him. We will be talking to ex-Orioles, Blue Jays, and Yankees pitcher Josh Towers. But first, the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, I am back with another update of the Loudmouth Sports Minute. Tommy Scoops give you guys the quick rundown. And for today's scoop right now, in NFL news, Chris Jones, three-time Super Bowl champion, Chris Jones, tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs, actually squashed any free agency rumors heading forward, saying that he will stay with Kansas City. In other NFL news, the Bengals are releasing quarterback A.J. McCarron, who will actually be signing with his former team, the UFL St. Louis Battlehawks. In NBA news, Trae Young is actually going to get fined at $35,000 for an inappropriate gesture in his loss against the Bulls a couple days ago. Now, to give you guys scoops of scores with a quick rundown of the scores going on right now in the NBA, the Knicks are currently trailing Orlando 71-61. with Jalen Brunson leading the way with 28 points. Atlanta is currently trailing Charlotte 76-64, with Trey Mann 18 points leading the pack. Miami is also trailing Philadelphia 68-71, with Tyrese Maxey still having the most points at 20 points right now. Boston is currently up 68-32 against the Brooklyn Nets. Derek White currently has 19 points for the team. Chicago is actually leading the Cavaliers 46-36 with Kobe White, point guard Kobe White with 9 points. And right now, the Toronto Raptors are actually leading Indiana 53-48 with Bruce Brown having 12 points. Memphis is actually leading 31-19 against the Rockets with Dylan Brooks having 6 points leading the way. That is currently all the time that I have for you guys right now. I will be back for another update later in the show. Let me send it back over to the boys with their next guest.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Daryl Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. It doesn't look like Sean Smith will be joining us tonight, but shout out to Sean. Hopefully everything's okay at home. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including The Loudmouth with me, Speedy Petey, and Sean Smith every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. It's crazy. It's been all football on the show. We are going to get into baseball now as our very special guest. He's enjoying the football life over there in Vegas. I'm sure he was there at Media Row. Maybe he wasn't, but he was definitely enjoying all the football festivities over there in his hometown. We are now speaking to former Orioles, Blue Jays, and Yankees pitcher, our friend, Josh Towers. Josh, what's up, buddy?
You're muted.
I'm muted?
No, he is.
There he is. We don't have Josh. He's We're trying to get. I think it might be your computer, Josh. Just go back and go in. Go back and go in, Josh. So we have Josh Towers. He's did Speedy just tell Josh to go back in, go back in and go in. So, but anyways, Josh, we'll get you back in. Speedy, just tell him to go in and go out. That's probably the reason why. But yeah, so we're gonna have Josh Towers on. He's been on the show many times, and obviously he's been over there in Vegas. He had the opportunity to check out the festivities of the NFL with the Super Bowl 58, and I'm sure he had a chance to check out Radio Row. His device is that Josh? Josh, are you there? Josh, does he hear us? Speedy, this is why I told you. Why don't we go to a quick break?
I'm gonna call him.
All right, why don't we go to a quick break? When we come back, Josh Towers here on the Sports Loudmouth.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, like, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state.
The Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouth.
(631-672-3108) is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. All you got to do to tune into our show every single week is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me, Speedy, Petey, and Sean Smith, every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. We finally have him on the phone. I know he's had a little bit of problems with his camera, but hey, this happens as always, with Speedy running the board. We're now talking to Orioles, ex-Orioles, Blue Jays, and Yankees pitcher, Josh Towers. Josh, what's up, man?
Hello, what's up, boys?
I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on with your camera, but this is why I tell Speedy.
Hold on, I'm gonna blame Speedy because we didn't do an audio or video check. I can see you boys just fine.
Yeah, you can put the audio on.
You could put the video on. You could put the video on. Just leave the phone audio on though, because we couldn't hear you before.
Yeah, so
I know what you're saying, dude. All I did was follow the link and everything was on.
No, it's not your fault. We're not blaming you. I mean,
you have to change it last second. We understand.
Josh, stuff happens. I'm not going to say it, but you could say it if you want, but I'm not going to say it.
I'm definitely going to say it. I'm kind of bummed. I wanted to see you boys.
I know, man. I know, but we'll get you on a lot sooner than later. I mean, the baseball season's around the corner, but I want to get into it. How was Vegas? How was Super Bowl 58 over there?
It was crazy. Our town was insane. Every casino was packed. Probably more celebrities in one place than ever before. I mean, it was awesome. It was really a cool thing. They, Vegas does it right, and everybody takes part in setting something up, and so there's just something for everybody. And I mean, it was definitely the week of, but I would say the festivities started probably 2 weeks in advance.
Did you enjoy Media Day? Did you get a chance to do your show on Media Day?
No, man, I worked at Circa the whole time. So, I just handled my business over here the whole time.
Well, so you didn't get a chance to see that craziness over there, but I've been there. It's crazy, man. It is crazy. And the NFL, to me, the NFL has done me dirty over the last couple of years, but nevertheless,
betting?
No, not betting. I mean, I don't bet on sports. I don't get myself into trouble doing that, but There's been some incidents going down to some of the Super Bowls and working Radio Row where, we just didn't see eye to eye with the NFL. But nevertheless, I'm not going to speak about that. We're here speaking to you. As everybody knows, we are talking to former Orioles, Blue Jays, and Yankees pitcher, our friend Josh Towers. Josh, a lot of things going on in baseball right now. Obviously, there's a couple of good players still available. One of them, the Yankees have made offers to, not once, but twice, and he decided to not take the offers, and that's Blake Snell. What are your thoughts? Do the Yankees still make a move or try to make a move before spring training to try to land Blake Snell?
It's not a bad idea, right? I mean, anytime you can get quality pitching, you want it. I think the Blue Jays showed us how important depth is last year with how much depth they have, and we all know that everybody needs pitching. I don't care what you have, you can never have enough if you want to win a championship. And now you're trying to catch the Dodgers. The Dodgers have gone and get stacked this team from head to toe. It's almost like they did it behind everybody's back and caught everybody off guard, which surprised me. And then you look at Atlanta, and Atlanta's been doing a phenomenal job, just like LA, of building this farm system / having the talent and the star talent to win at the major league level. I think the Yankees used to always show us that formula on how to do it. And then Tampa, they do the most amazing job of developing talent, but then they don't know how to really keep it in the big leagues because of money.
Mm-hmm.
So I think everybody's kind of chasing certain teams. And the Yankees are absolutely sick and tired of losing. This is not something that the Yankees have ever done before. They've always been the leaders of this charge. And so they need all they can get. I don't trust fully what they got. I mean, they went and signed an unproven guy to $187 million. So, that's tough. And obviously he didn't play last year. And then you go and get Stroman. Stroman's never really done much as a player. Like, he had a good year finally, I think, as a Cub last year. But past that, Marcus Stroman's never really been a winner, like where he wins games at the major league level. So as much as they went and got him and he has a popular name, you can't bank on that. So they need to go get more depth. Blake Snell has been amazing. I'm cautious of Blake Snell. As big of a fan of him as I am, I don't think New York's to play for him. I think, when push comes to shove, sometimes Blake Snell backs down. San Diego's a phenomenal pitching market and a pitching field, right? So you can get away with a lot of stuff there, and there's not as much media or pressure. I think Blake Snell, I don't know if the Yankee Stadium's a good place for him, and I don't know if that's part of the reason why he doesn't want to sign there. But you and I both know they're not lowballing him on a contract offer. I mean, they offer the world when they start offering money. So I don't know, man.
So one of your other former teams made a big trade. The Orioles trading for Corbin Burns for practically nothing right now. And there's rumors that it looks like they're going to finalize new ownership as well with $1 billion, fourth richest in baseball history. What do you think of this move for the Orioles? And what do you think they'll be able to keep him now that they have the new ownership?
They need to. I mean, if they want to really win, they need to. They played above their expectation levels last year, and I think what happened in the playoffs was, I thought we predicted it to exact T of what was going to happen. They're just young, and they don't know how to play those games yet, and so the season kind of gets lost where they started to beat teams in their division, which was beautiful, but you can easily beat up on other teams and then sneak into the playoffs. And I thought the Orioles, I mean, they have got their talent is so great. These young kids they have are so great, but they need somebody who's been there. They need even the coaching staff. I remember their manager gave an interview last year as the playoffs started, and you can tell that just getting there was their World Series by the way he was speaking. And so as a player, that let me believe that, like, we were shocked that we were here coming from my manager's mouth. So they need somebody that's been there. They need a more of a veteran leadership kind of guy. And Corbin Burns, I think, can be that guy. But they're going to have to lay the money down. They have their lefty coming back, who's their ace, and been their ace for years. You got Corbin Burns, is one of the best in the game. He's got a Cy Young under their belt. Give the guy some money. But they also, if I'm not mistaken, Corbin Burns has Boris as an agent. And that always becomes a very tricky deal when you're dealing with him. So I like the move. DL Hall is a huge prospect. I think his upside is really big. I thought DL Hall was rushed to the big leagues by the Baltimore Orioles, and because of the rushed move, he didn't perform the way they thought and the way his prospect status number suggested. And so to me, they're kind of giving up on him really, really quick, and it was their doing as to why he struggled. So in the moment, you go get these guys like Corbin Burns because you want to win a championship right now. And then if it doesn't work in the long haul, was that the right play? A DL Hall turns out to be a stud. I'm okay with it. I think the Orioles have so much depth right now with their minor league system that I'm okay with giving up DL Hall to go get a Corbin Burns. And like you said, if they do and can end up signing him to an extension, then I think it's a good move.
We are talking to former Orioles, Blue Jays, and Yankees pitcher Josh Towers. Josh, we have a new guy, an executive producer on our network that's a pretty big fan of yours, and he knows a lot about you and your career and your past, and he has a couple of questions to ask you.
Let's go.
Hey, Josh, this is Fish. It's nice talking to you, man. I don't know if I'm the expert that Errol's making me out to be, but I was doing some research for you coming on, and I know you can't see it right now, but we got a clip and an image of, it looks like A-Rod charging the mound on you back in 2007. And I wanted to ask you two questions. What do you remember about that? And if there was one thing you could change from what happened that day, what would it be, if you could or would?
Yeah, I think I heard everything you say. It sounds very hard to hear. You're off in the distance. But first off, I don't know where you found a video clip, because no one seemed to ever be able to find a video clip of that actually happening, which would be great. Yeah, man, Alex deserved it. He knew it. He knows it. He knew he deserved it. I mean, what he did a couple weeks prior when we were back in Toronto to Howie Clark was just something shady that you don't do. So he was always going to get hit. Major League Baseball just I feel like we missed the boat on hitting him his next at bat, but Major League Baseball stepped in, and I told you guys before, they always step in when they shouldn't. And Major League Baseball stepped in and told me when we were in New York right afterwards I wasn't allowed to hit him. And so all that does is just kind of fuel the fire and piss you off more. And so it just prolonged something that should have been addressed earlier. I don't know. I thought it worked out pretty well as far as there's one thing that happened that I'm not a fan of, but I thought it worked out pretty well as far as I'm looking at Alex thinking, where am I going to hit him? I can't go to the head. You don't do that. I'm not going to hit him in his butt or his back. I don't throw hard enough for that to hurt. And so having good control, I remember looking at his knee and going, shit, if I hit him right in his knee, that's not going to feel very good. And it's not a shady area to throw it, again, like his head. So I remember hitting him right in his knee perfectly with a little sinker, which was great. And I remember he pulled up his pant leg in between like innings or whatever, and the cameras caught it, and you can see a mark on his knee. And it was like, I couldn't believe that he did that in the dugout to let the cameras catch it. So it was kind of like validation that we got him pretty good. And then we used to promote Major League Baseball, whatever, a video game. And so during the seventh inning, they used to put it on the Jumbotron, and they would bring like two kids from the stands. And for a quick like at bat, they would have the kids face each other and promote it. And so the next day they set up a game where I was pitching and Alex was hitting for the Yankees, and one of the kids drilled Alex, and the whole stadium goes crazy. Like, it was funny. But the one thing that I do regret is Brandon Lee, who's one of my teammates, and the second time, and this is Tony Pena's fault, but the second time we fought, Tony Pena was, we were back, everybody was clearing up, everybody went back to the bullpens, and I'm standing on the mound with Lyle Overbay, and Alex is at first base-ish with Tony Pena. And I remember I just heard chirping coming from that area, and I looked at Lyle because I didn't want to look. And I was like, Lyle, please tell me it's not Alex continuing to talk smack. And he looked over there, and it wasn't. It was Tony Pena. Tony was still like running his mouth, like he wanted to fight me. And so I went out Tony Pena the second time, kind of cussing at him, and he's cussing at me. And so next thing you know, we bench is clear again, and the bullpen's clear from the bullpens again. And that second time, Brandon Lee had jumped over the fence instead of running down the stairs and going around. And he landed on his knee wrong and ended up on the DL because of it. So that's the only thing I regret is getting my boy hurt.
Josh, you cursing? No way. You wouldn't do something that bad. No, not you.
In the heat of the moment, no chance. Yeah.
You know, it's so interesting, Josh. And going into the offseason, you look at some of these guys that could be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And there's a list of guys that you question why they're not even close to making it to the Hall of Fame. One, Alex Rodriguez.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you question why these guys actually have votes.
That's true, too. That's true, too. But Alex Rodriguez, Manny Ramirez, Omar Vizquel. I mean, all these guys. I mean, Chase Utley, another guy that I really liked. Jimmy Rollins, another guy. All these guys are, they don't look like they're making it into the Hall of Fame. But Adrian Beltre, I love Adrian Beltre. He had a long-lasting career, definitely well-deserved. Todd Helton, even though he was in Colorado for a long time, we've had a couple of ex-baseball players and baseball players right now that have, are big fans of his, think that he very well deserved. And Joe Mauer. Now, Joe Mauer didn't have a long career, but when he was at the top of his career, he was one of the best hitters in baseball. But here's the problem. When you compare his numbers to Don Mattingly, and Don Mattingly is never, as of right now, maybe as a senior committee player, he's never going to get into the Hall of Fame. When you match up his numbers to Don Mattingly was a better player, and Joe Mauer is a first ballot Hall of Fame famer. Do you believe Joe Mauer is a better player than Don Mattingly?
No. And again, that's why I made that comment about the voters. I think the voters, for the most part, not all, but I think the voters, for the most part, are the reason why we're getting this wrong. And I don't think that, everybody has their own opinion or what I think a Hall of Famer is. And then when you start asking questions to a lot of these guys, you can catch them contradicting themselves. And I think it's an embarrassment, right, to put David Ortiz in the Hall of Fame when he was on the steroid list for getting caught for taking steroids. And it's like, how did you validate that? But you won't put Alex Rodriguez in because he was on the same list or he got busted for steroids. It's like, this is a joke. Both of those guys are phenomenal players and probably Hall of Famers. But Alex is one of the top 5, top 10 greatest players that ever played the game. So, yeah, he took steroids, but so did David Ortiz. But because you guys like David Ortiz and he's a nice guy, you put him in. It doesn't make sense. And again, I'm not talking bad about anybody because all of these players were really, really good at what they did. But Scott Rowland is not a Hall of Fame baseball player to me. And if we're going to put in other guys, and if we're going to put in Scott Rowland, then the greatest baseball player that's ever lived, Barry Bonds, is sitting at home and not in the Hall of Fame when there's nobody in the history of our game that could ever compete to anything he did. And it has nothing to do with whether somebody feels he took steroids or not. So I think with these voting in these years now, they don't know what to do and they want to put people in. And so they're trying to make up all these reasons why this guy might be a Hall of Famer, but this guy wasn't, or why I voted. And it's kind of an embarrassment, man. Like, I thought Joe Mauer was one of the better hitters I've ever seen.
Yes.
But part of being a Hall of Famer is longevity.
Mm-hmm.
Part of being a Hall of Famer is it's something that sets you apart from everybody else. And longevity, durability, like playing for a long time is a big, big consistency. Anybody can do anything once. And so we're going to put guys like Scott Rowland in the Hall of Fame. You look at his numbers, they're not numbers. They're not Hall of Fame numbers. So then we say, oh, he's a good defensive player. Well, then Omar Vizquel is arguably the greatest defensive shortstop in the history of our game. So there's no value for being the best version of there's lots of parts of our games, whether you're offense, whether you're power, whether you're defense, whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. So the guy who's arguably the greatest glove of all time doesn't get in, who also put, if I'm not mistaken, 20 plus years in the game. Like, it's just none of it makes sense because there's not like a set whatever to induct or vote somebody into the Hall of Fame. And there's guys all over that list that should be in. Roger Clemens, one of the hardest working men I've ever seen, and people didn't even want to work out with Rocket or run with him because you knew you're probably going to throw up because he worked so hard. But yet he's only good for what? Because you think he took steroids? Like, I don't get what a lot of these things are doing, and the whole steroid thing has to go if we're going to put known steroid users in the Hall of Fame. And so I get that the only argument for these guys getting in the Hall of Fame now is, well, the coaches don't play guys as much as they used to. Like we used to complete games and have, Roy Halladay still leads the league in completed games since 09 or whatever the stat is. All right, so we don't let pitchers go deep in games anymore. So can I hold that against a pitcher when I'm voting them into the Hall of Fame? And some people say no. I might argue yes, because if you are a Hall of Fame player, your coach probably doesn't want to pull you out of the game anyway. So there's a lot of things that have changed in voting for the Hall of Fame, but there's guys going in now that I don't know if they're Hall of Famers. And then it's like, okay, so Todd Helton, he's arguably a Hall of Famer. This guy was a fantastic hitter, right? I played with Todd. He's amazing. But why, if he's a Hall of Famer now, why wasn't he a Hall of Famer before? Because somebody else was on the ballot that might have been better. So then, he's not a Hall of Famer compared to this ballot. But this ballot's not as strong. So now Todd Helton's a Hall of Fame compared to this ballot. Well, then is he a Hall of Famer or is he not a Hall of Famer? It doesn't make any sense because you can vote them all in. So I don't know, man. I think that we got it completely wrong with the people that are voting, to be honest with you.
It's so crazy because if you look at Harold Baines, is he a Hall of Famer? No. And I like Tim Raines. Was he a Hall of Famer? Yes, he had longevity. Was he really that great of a player? I would say no. I mean, he has the numbers. I mean, if his longevity, he played 20-something years, but he's not. So would Harold Baines, but they weren't elite players. Lee Smith, was he really that good of a relief pitcher? Was he a Mariano Rivera? Was he a Goose Gossage? Was he that kind of player? No, he wasn't. A Trevor Hoffman? How is he in the Hall of Fame? It makes no sense. So
yeah, a lot of it. But then I've had a lot of people also, like I've had coaches and people who played in the era with these players and said in our era they were the best of the best. So then are we comparing them against generational stuff, or are we comparing them against just their era, since that's the era they played in and those are the players they played against? Like, how are we voting for these guys based on that as well? Because I don't know. I mean, there's some obvious ones. Adrian Beltre, again, top 5 best player to ever play our game. That's an obvious. He's going straight to the Hall of Fame, no questions asked. But then when you go, okay, Adrian Beltre is a no doubt about it Hall of Famer, and you compare him to the other guys he's going in with, Joe Mauer's not on Adrian Beltre's list. He's not even close. So then Joe Mauer's a Hall of Famer. What? Because catchers don't ever hit and win batting titles, and I think Joe has a couple. So then it's like, okay, so then is it only about offense or is it about defense? Because if that's the case, Buster Posey and Yadier Molina, who to me are no questions asked Hall of Famers, Yadier Molina's stats will never match up offensively to Joe Mauer's stats. So then is he not a Hall of Famer because he didn't win 3 batting titles? Like, how are they going to validate or justify this argument? Like, I don't know, man. I just think it's wrong.
how about Albert Bell? I mean, Albert Bell, they're saying, I mean, for 10 years, Albert Bell was the best player in baseball. If you look, if you compare his numbers right now, his 8 years of dominance to any player in history, who's better than Albert Bell? You're going to tell me Joe Mauer, who his longevity was, 8-9 years? Joe Mauer was a better player than Albert Bell? Why isn't Albert Bell in the Hall of Fame?
Bizzo was so good. He was so good. Yeah, and I'm curious too, like Ichiro Suzuki. Ichiro, man, like just roll the red carpet out and walk him in straight now Hall of Fame, baby, because he's maybe the greatest hitter of all time, but he didn't hit a lot of home runs, right? Like, it's just crazy. There's so many different ways to be a Hall of Famer. And whether you like me as a media personality or not, whether you get along with me or thought I was a good player or liked how I interacted or hated me because I wouldn't interact with you because I didn't like you as a person, has nothing to do with the baseball player that I was when I was on the field, right? So, and people didn't like Bizzo. People thought that Albert.
Josh, if nobody likes you, I'll kick their rear ends, okay? I'll tell you that right now. I'll whip their asses if anybody talks about you, man. You're a good guy, man. Your personality. I could see why you're in the media world now and you're a broadcaster and you do a podcast because you have a good personality. It don't matter how great of a baseball player you were, but your longevity as an athlete and what you have done outside of baseball has been superb. So if anybody ever said anything about you, I'd smack them silly. Okay, just so you know.
I'm gonna find somebody.
That's right, man. I'll body slam him. I'll drop the hammer on him. I'll put him in a Kimura. I'll put him in a rear naked chokehold. I'll put him in a guillotine headlock. If you want,
he'll start with the Hall of Fame voters.
How bad do you miss the body slam in wrestling? Like, I figure like it needs to come back. The body slam needs to make a comeback. This is awesome. What a great move.
Body slam? You think I'd be good in body slam? Could you?
Oh, it's so great.
Yes, I loved what's his name again? What was his name again? Who was in Body Slam?
I think it was Hulk Hogan.
No. It was what was his name again? Oh, do you remember Body Slam? Oh my God! How did I forget this? How did I forget this? Body
The
Slam.
comment section will have to fill this in, Josh. I don't know wrestling, and I haven't heard much else.
I can't believe this. Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper. That's who it was in. Roddy Piper.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I forgot he was an actor for a while.
Yes, Roddy Piper was, and by the way, I loved Roddy Piper, but that was a fantastic movie. It really was. So you're right, and they should make a remake of that movie. That's a great movie.
Yeah, what's up with some of these signers? Who's this Uriel Rodriguez guy? The Blue Jays need $32 million. Who's this guy?
Their desperation move of the offseason after they almost got everybody else.
You know, these teams like to throw money.
I got another one for you. Who's this guy that came from the Korean Baseball League that the Giants gave $100-something million to? Haven't we learned that like that's a very tough transition from that league to Major League Baseball? That's not like Japan. I guess is the only one you can compare. Like I'm shocked that we would give somebody $100-something million that came from the Korean Baseball League. That's risky, no?
That's guaranteed money, something that NFL players don't get, as Tony Lippett is about to come on.
Yeah.
I'm sure he knows all about non-guaranteed money.
Josh, you're literally describing the two teams that almost got everybody for the last 2 years. The Giants mainly last offseason, and the Blue Jays this offseason.
But then we sign, then we give this guy $100 million because we missed out on everybody else. I mean, the Giants have made a couple moves, like the Robbie Rays and stuff, but like, a couple of them I just don't get. You know what move I did like though for the Red Sox was getting rid of Chris Sale and getting Vaughn Grisham.
Oh, I like that move too.
I don't know if Vaughn's gonna live up to his hype, but Chris Sale, I mean, I don't know. I think it was a great move to kind of cut ties. He's a tough clubhouse guy. Like as far as what he brings a lot of negativity and he's hurt a lot, and that's a tough one to hang on to. So I thought the Red Sox did a really good job of getting a top prospect in return.
Well, put that up again, Fish. I mean, Roddy Piper at quotes, and I think you should use this quote for your show. You ready? I came here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. I'm all out of bubble gum. So there you go.
I remember that.
Hey, listen, I'm all out of bubblegum too. I used to love Bubblicious. Then I was in Germany. I was DJing, and all I did was chew gum when I was DJing. And then I had a big, huge abscess in my mouth for 6 months. Traveling from Germany, Amsterdam, all over the place. I couldn't chew any food on one side of my face. When I went back to America, and I remember I went to my dentist, and my dentist said, "What the hell did you do to your teeth?" And I said, "I was chewing gum." You know what he told me? Stop doing it. I haven't chewed gum since then.
No way. That's awesome.
True story, ladies and gentlemen. And by the way, I really did not chew anything on that side of my face for 6 months. I was in so much pain. I was in so much pain. I don't even know how I got through it. But hey, you know what? The crazy things that I saw over there and overseas. So
it's worth it.
Well, I'll tell you off air what I saw. I don't want to scare anybody.
We gotta get on serious radio for that.
Well, Sirius will probably lock me out. Hey, listen, you traveled. You got a chance to see. I mean, Tony Lippett, I'm sure he saw some, rowdy, disgusting stuff too.
Yeah, there's some things that happen in other countries, man.
Well, you have no idea, buddy. You have no idea. I could write a book of things that I saw.
Yo, let me ask you guys a question. Who's a better team with all these moves, the Braves or the Dodgers?
The Braves.
The Braves, I think, are still deeper. I think the Dodgers are more like star power, but I think the Braves a little slightly.
I like the Braves.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers have more of that they have the headline names, but I think the Braves, you're right. I think the Braves might.
Mm-hmm.
I think 1 through 9, they're probably way better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So much depth that they're pitching.
And they have a great farm system too. They have some guys coming up that are going to be sensational. So
Like the Braves have a far better offense, but the Dodgers might have better starting pitching.
yes, but here's the thing: is Walker? They're already saying that Walker Buehler might not be ready for the starting of the season. They already said that. So that hurts them.
Okay.
That hurts them.
Well, I mean, they picked up Glasnow. I mean, they do have some guys that do get hurt. That's the one thing.
Listen. His last name is Glasnow. Okay. That sells everything about who he is. He cracks like a piece of glass. So he's not going to be there that long. They're going to have him for a year or two. He's not going to stay healthy. He'll probably pitch 17 games, and then they'll say, you know what, we'll just trade you. You'll go elsewhere.
Don't worry, they have all the deferred money. They can get whatever they want.
Yeah, why not? I mean, that's the one beautiful thing about baseball, right? Is we don't have a limit. We're not tied to this. We don't have you can only spend $220 million or whatever. It's great.
You're hurting Tony Lippett now. He's not happy with you now. He's coming in. He's going to be coming in just a few moments. You're really hurting his feelings now. Baseball players get guaranteed money. Football players get dink. I'm not going to say what really I have to say about that. But hey, you know what? When you get Myles Garrett money, who's making, I don't know, $150 million and running over
Or how about
people,
the quarterback of their team that's getting all guaranteed money for
Oh my God.
Oh, Dak Prescott?
No, Dak Prescott actually showed his money, not like the one on the Browns that likes to do other things off the field.
The two backup quarterbacks might be better.
Hey, Zach Wilson made $10 million as a Jet this year.
Still got outplayed by all four Browns quarterbacks.
We sure did.
Oh, being a Jet fan makes me want to throw up. Okay, so for all the fans out there, you laugh at me like I stick up for the Jets. I throw the Jets under the bus. As a matter of fact, Jet fans probably hate me, and they probably don't want to hear this. But hey, you know what? Every single year, you just wonder, when is it going to be their year? And I've been saying that since 88 when I became a football fan.
You have to earn that. That's something earned. You don't just get handed to you.
Yeah, you know, if we had Tony Lippett,
what have the Jets done outside of the quarterback? Right, obviously Aaron got hurt, but what have the Jets done outside of Aaron Rodgers getting hurt, knowing he's coming back? What have they done to be a better team around him next year?
Well, they should reach out to me and ask me to be the GM. That's what they should do. They should reach out to Errol Marks and say, listen, Errol, we've listened to your show. You know what you're doing. Come to us. You'll be the assistant GM over here. And then, we'll boot Joe Douglas out after the season and we'll let you take over the team. I'm not very good with money, so I'm going to have to bring somebody in. So Josh, Tony Lippett,
money guy.
I'll bring you in. You know a little bit about money. You're my mathematical guy.
Everybody has their role. The president of our team with the Jays, he was in control of just the money. He handled the money. JP Ricciardi handled the moves on who we wanted, and they worked together to make it work. So you definitely have that guy in place already.
I got you. I got Tony Lippett. I can hire anybody. I'll just hire a whole row of you guys to be my executives. When everybody says, well, who's your executives? I got Josh Towers. Who the hell's Josh Towers? Don't worry about it. I got Josh Towers.
Here's my only issue, man. You signed off on the Zach Wilson drafting, so I don't know.
Oh, shots fired. Shots fired. Hey, listen, I signed off because when I watched him in BYU, I thought, hey, you know what? The Jets will get this right. They'll keep him on the sidelines. They'll let him learn. And they've learned it from Sam Darnold. It didn't work with Sam. It didn't work with Mark Sanchez. They said, yeah, you know what? Or Geno Smith.
Or the great Christian Hackenberg.
Or Christian Hackenberg, who they drafted in the second round. Hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to sit this guy on the bench for 2 or 3 years, and maybe he'll learn something. Oh, you know what they do? They do the same thing. It becomes a whirlwind of crap. I'm not going to say it on live radio. So I could curse.
I can't believe they don't let these guys sit anymore, man. It's so crazy to me. That game is so fast and so hard.
So rigged. It's so rigged, Tony. It's rigged. The NFL is rigged. Sorry.
The CJ Strouds, man, it's very hard to come in and have success right away. It's you risk these guys and you lose them. It's such a tough position.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to throw everybody a curveball. I've been saying it for 5 years, and now all these athletes are coming out now saying that the NFL is rigged and all that other stuff. I'm going to give it to you guys. I've been saying it for a year. Rigged. Yes.
How is it rigged?
Well, if you see the play, you see the plays and the penalties and everything that's going on in the games and the weird things that happen in games. That tells me here. I'll give you something. Here, I'm going to give you something. I read it off from my beginning monologue before we go. So I want you to hear this. Adam Schefter said this February 6th. Now the Super Bowl was what, February 13th?
February
12th.
11th.
Oh, I'm sorry, 11th. 11th, right? Regarding Sunday's Super Bowl 58 matchup, CBS Sports Chairman Sean McManus quipped it. The NFL has alerted us that for the first time ever, we will have a double overtime game in the Super Bowl. Okay. And what was it? 4 seconds away from going to a double overtime?
Yep.
That tells you, and it's fitting, Tony. I'm telling you, it's rigged. It's fake. It's a business. I'm just speaking the truth here. I'm just feeding you some information. So, Josh, in a couple of years, when the NFL,
I had to go off on somebody the other day at the batting cages because he uneducated tried to do this to me. He tried to tell me how it was rigged and how they already knew the outcome and what the score was.
No, I don't think that. No, I don't think that.
I'm just telling you what he said. And that started going around social media and TikTok that the NFL was rigged and it was already predetermined. And I went nuts because I was like, I don't like. So you're gonna get every single player, every single coach, every single person involved with a team, and then you're gonna times that by 32 or whatever they have. And you're telling me you have all these thousands of people cahooting together and he really was believing this, that it was.
No, I don't.
I don't think that. I can't even have a conversation with you. This is ridiculous.
No, I don't think that. I don't think that, Josh. Josh, I don't think that.
The NFL logo thing. So it's supposed to be the Ravens.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden the NFL called an audible because of Taylor Swift. And then it was like, oh, it was gonna be the Lions and Chiefs because of Taylor Swift and Eminem. There was a music, and it was like, you guys can't make up your mind.
No, I just wanted to let you know. I don't think that. I just think that the NFL wants a particular Super Bowl. They believe in a certain Super Bowl, and things happen at the end of the game that goes that team's way. In Kansas City, against Baltimore, I could point out many different penalty calls in the fourth quarter that changed that game. And I could point out the game against Miami and Buffalo. Buffalo's game in the fourth quarter when Josh Allen got hit and it should have been a penalty, that could have put Josh Allen and Buffalo in a position where they can kick a field goal and possibly take the lead and win the game. So,
listen, I'm one of the biggest Ravens fans on planet Earth, and when we run the ball 8 times versus one of the worst run defenses in the league, I'm going to say that's on us. And when you got rookie wide receivers who haven't done anything all game except for one play, getting penalties because they made finally a catch that put him on the 9, and then he taunts him or whatever, and then you got Lamar trying to force touchdowns because he can't control his what it means to him, and God, I would love to blame it on the NFL, but sometimes we got to control our emotions. What did Phil Jackson always say? Anger is the enemy of instruction.
You're speaking to the Zen master who probably thinks that his underwear can speak to him. Okay, so that's.
Imagine if they could.
Now, listen, if my underwear speaks to me, I probably wouldn't change them. Hey, if you guys got that joke, I mean, it went over your head. But anyways, Josh, we really appreciate your time. I'm sorry we couldn't see you, but we'll get you on.
Yeah, me too.
We'll get you on. I'm gonna tell Speedy to reach out to you.
Speedy for sure. Yeah, we gotta get a mic check next time.
Oh, you see this? You see that? You hear that?
I got you, Josh.
You hear that, Speedy?
If you're ever on your phone again, and if you ever need you on your phone again, we will definitely do that.
Mic check 1 2. Mic check.
Oh man, you could be. I might use you on like a little panel. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Rick.
Let's do it.
Oh, Josh, you are one piece of work, man. But we love you. Yes, keep up the good work.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
We'll get you on very, very soon, bro. But before this season starts, Speedy will get you on. We'll definitely get a chance to see you. How's your son doing quickly?
He's starting on Friday. He's the Saturday starter for Loyola Marymount. So we're super, super excited because he's ready to go. So we'll see how it goes, man. But I'm happy.
No, stay in touch with us. Let us know what's going on.
Yeah,
I'm rooting for
sure.
your kid, man. So
thank you. Appreciate you, boys.
absolutely, and your nephew, by the way. I know that too. Yeah, I know he's playing ball too.
Oh, my adopted son. He's
Yes.
in Reno playing shortstop. Yeah.
Yes, your adopted son, which I forgot. I thought it was your nephew, but it is your adopted son.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Anyways, keep playing your pick. What do you play? Wiffle ball now?
Yeah, I had to put a stop to it because of this job. Work gets in the way of me dominating wiffle ball.
Be
too
watching.
bad.
That's because you never played
Right.
against me, buddy. That's because you never played against me. I mean, I got a wicked curveball, man. and I have a spitball. I have a spitball too. So yeah.
I was going to say that curveball is not going to curve too much with these balls, so you might need something different.
Oh, Speedy doesn't know where his balls are. So
Yeah, they're hidden somewhere in time.
yeah, in the Amazon rainforest.
No, I think they're in Thailand. Is that what you said?
No, that's Cliff Kingsbury.
Oh man, Josh, we love you, man.
All
Keep
right,
up
you
the good work.
boys finish the show, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Josh Towers, ladies and gentlemen. We love him. He's always come on the show and gives us such good content. Play for the Orioles, the Blue Jays, and the Yankees. Fantastic personality. Thank you to Josh Towers. When we come back, he's been waiting and ready to attack because he knows a little bit about the Dolphins and the Giants because he played for them. We will be talking to former Dolphins and Giants cornerback Tony Lippett. But first, the Sports Minute with Tommy Scoops.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
Once again, as I said, I keep my promise, and here I am with another Loudmouth Sports Minute report. I am Tommy Scoops to give you guys another scoop. And in NFL news, a positive update actually from Kansas City within the unfortunate events that have happened over there. Out of the 21 victims, the 11 children that were in intensive care unit are actually expected to recover. The other 10 victims are actually still in intensive care unit, so we shall see with them. Prayers go out to their family and the one deceased as well. Prayers go out to them and their extended family. In college basketball, earlier today, the Ohio State Buckeyes actually announced that they will be firing Chris Holtman and replacing him with assistant Jake Diebler as the team's interim head coach. In NBA news, the Pistons center Isaiah Stewart actually got into an altercation a little bit before the game started with the Suns center Drew Eubank. The two apparently got into an altercation in the tunnel, which police actually had to get involved, and both men are actually not playing for tonight's game. Now to give you guys a rundown of Scoops' scores. Currently, we have Charlotte leading Atlanta 122-97. Trey Mann currently leads the way with 21 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. Right now, Orlando is actually leading the Knicks 113-96. Paolo Banchero actually has the most points right now with 36 points and 7 rebounds. Miami is actually leading 105-99 against Philadelphia. Tyrese Maxey still has the most points with 26 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists. Boston is leading Brooklyn 117-66. Derek White, point guard for the Boston Celtics, is actually leading with 27 points. Chicago 73-71 with Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell currently has the most points in that game with 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists. And Toronto is leading Indiana 99 points to 91. Tyrese Halliburton actually has the most points in that game with 16 points and 11 assists. And right now, at halftime, the Grizzlies hold the lead 58-49 over the Rockets, with also New Orleans and Wizards actually in halftime 68-60. The Spurs are leading right now the Mavericks 40-33. Victor Wembanyama has the most points with 16 points. And there is actually currently other games tipping off right now with the Pistons and Suns. The Suns are actually right now with a 10-8 lead. And Eric Gordon has the most points in that game. The Lakers just tipped off against the Jazz, 14-11. The Lakers have the lead with Colin Sexton of the Jazz with the most points right now at 5 points. That is all the time that I have for you guys right now. I'm going to send it back to the boys with their next guest, Tony Lippett.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
Well, I know Tony likes this, baby. Shake, 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 shake. I don't have my turntables right now, Tony, but I'm killing it right now. I'm killing it, baby. 631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy. Petey, go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey and Sean Smith every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out all our local listings is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Shout out to ex-Yankee, Blue Jay, and Oriole, Josh Towers, for joining us. Great interview as always. And this is another guy that's been on our show before. Great personality. And we're now talking to former Dolphins and Giants cornerback, Tony Lippett. Tony, what's up? I know you've been waiting. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, man, I'm doing good, man. What's up with y'all, man?
Oh, I got a chance to watch Kansas City win another Super Bowl. It doesn't really make me happy.
Hey, I mean, I think the last time we talked, I think I told you that was going to repeat. I know the last
Yeah, you said Chiefs-Lions at the start of the year. That was very close to happening.
Oh, man. Tell me about it, but it was a good game, by the way, though.
It was a good game. In the first half, it was really, really boring. And then I guess after Usher really killed it, and I give a shout out to Usher. He really did kill it. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was, but Usher was fantastic. And then I guess it woke up Patrick Mahomes because then he put on a light show, and I mean a light show for the 49ers. And Brock Purdy just couldn't keep up, and that's really what happened in the game. But what were your thoughts to the Super Bowl? I mean, there were so many things going into the Super Bowl, people trying to compare it to. I mean, Brock Purdy being in his first Super Bowl against arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the last, I would say, in the last 20 years that we've seen in a 6-7 year span. And then obviously coaches, Kyle Shanahan versus Andy Reid, arguably one of the greatest offensive minds against the new improved offensive mind in the NFL.
I would actually say it was a good game. Like you said, the first half was pretty good, man, but it's just Patrick Mahomes, man. He's just different, man. The way he can orchestrate the offense and, like, all the things they went through this year with dropping the ball, no 1,000-yard receiver, no 1,000-yard running back, but they still had a top defense this year, and they just put it together at the right time. Like, if you would have told me in Week 10 that the Chiefs is going to be in the Super Bowl and win it, I would have told you, like, bro, no, they not. They look bad right now. They're dropping the ball, injuries. Just a lot of things is going on, but like you said, the first half was very, very slow. I felt like Purdy he left points on the board.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't leave points on the board versus a historical quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. This is a game you have to score points. Like, it can't just be 10-3 the whole time. Like, you have to extend that lead to a 17-3, a 20-3, something like that, where it's like, oh, if he come back, he going to be magical right there. But it's just like you left too much time. You left it open for Patrick Mahomes to come and take it in. At the end of the day, that's exactly what he did. Like right here, like, I mean, you got Ayuk and Deebo Samuel on the left side. Why are you even looking on the right side?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got the two guys over there. I'm looking over there to my two primary targets. I'm looking that way. I mean, it's the read or whatever it is, blitz, whatever, but in those moments, you got to look for your guys, not Jennings. I know he was catching the ball pretty good this game, but you got to look for your playmakers in moments like this, especially with the game on the line. And, I mean, I guess he just chose to, throw the ball away. He just needed to make some plays, and he fell short. Played good, but not great. But, yeah, man, it was a good game. Second half was extraordinary, for real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Kyle Shanahan is the other talk that about the overtime rules. Like, should he have gone second in overtime? Not some of the players not knowing the overtime rules. So what are your thoughts on this new format? And do you think that was the reason they lost the game? Should they have tried to go second and tried to walk it off?
I'm not going to just individually put that as the reason why they lost the game. But when he received the ball, I was watching. I'm like, bro, why would he do that? Like, I didn't understand why would you do that, because I'm like, it's like college football now. Both teams get the ball no matter if you score or kick the field goal. And you would rather, like, I heard the whole, like, world talking about, yeah, you give Patrick Mahomes 4 downs. But think about it. The third play of when Patrick Mahomes got the ball in overtime was a 3rd and 1. They rushed it. They didn't get no yards. If he got the ball first, they're punting that ball. They're not going to go for it. But it's like you put it on the line for him. He can't punt with his back against the wall. Now he has to go for it. Now you literally got Patrick Mahomes in full out attack mode. And you gave him that by taking the ball first. I didn't really understand it. I thought it was kind of like Kyle Shanahan was kind of coaching left-handed the whole game. Like, I think he is a good coordinator. I do. I think he's a good offensive guru, head coach. But I think he didn't call it. He called the game like it was a regular season game. I don't know. Like, I didn't see the intensity and the attention to detail or like the big plays he was gonna to win the Super Bowl. It's like he was coaching like he had a game next week. I didn't agree with the whole overtime taking the ball first. I wouldn't have did that. I think that was a part of the reason why they lost. Now y'all heard about him saying like the players didn't know about the rules and things like that. Y'all, I'm sure y'all been hearing about that all week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did y'all know about the rues?
Of course I did. With the whole Josh Allen thing, it changed after that. With the whole Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen thing, when Patrick Mahomes took it down the field and scored, the game was over. And the NFL changed it for the playoffs and said that now if you score a touchdown, the other team has another chance to put the ball in the end zone too. And if they do, the game keeps going until somebody can't score. And that was the rule. I don't know how you didn't know that. I mean, you know it. I mean, I'm not even a coach. And I could have told my players, this is the rule. Get it done. I mean, I would have had a billboard. Now you have Kyle Shanahan. And by the way, Kyle Shanahan, you said it right. He is an offensive guru. That's all he is. But here's the problem. Every single big game. Remember him with the Atlanta Falcons? He had the best running game in football. The best running game in football. He had Freeman. He had Coleman. That was the best duo in football that year by far. And what did he stop doing in the game in the second half? He stopped running the ball. Then you go into the game against the 49ers and Chiefs a couple of years ago. What was it? 5-6 years ago. They were up by 10, 4.5 minutes left. They had the ball. What did they do? They threw the ball. They trusted Jimmy Garoppolo. What happened? Patrick Mahomes took it down not once, but twice and won a Super Bowl. And now you go into this game, you're running the ball down their throats. They couldn't stop you in the first quarter and the second quarter, half of the second quarter. And by the way, yes, Christian McCaffrey did drop the ball on the first drive, but after that, he was unstoppable. You couldn't stop him. What did he do in the second half? He didn't run the ball. And what is their strength? Running the ball with the best running back in the league. That's why they lost. Christian McCaffrey should have been fed the ball. He's the beast. Give the beast the ball and let him dominate. That's why he's the great. That's why he's great, and that's why he's the best running back in the league.
I agree exactly what you were just saying. Like after halftime, Chiefs go out there 2 plays, third down, throw an interception. So now you got the ball back on your own on the Chiefs 44-yard line. Fresh out of halftime. We just watched the whole first half, and the Chiefs offense didn't perform.
Do nothing.
Half. So now you come out the third play of the second half, it's an INT. Like if I'm watching this game, if I'm in this game, I'm like, damn, this is kind of like we just been in the halftime all this time, and then we come out and we turn the ball over right now, the first drive. You kind of getting like, oh man, they don't run the ball after that. The immediate drive after that right there, they end up punting the ball from a minus yard. They lost a yard. Why don't you turn around and hand the ball out to? Why don't you turn the ball off and hand the ball to McCaffrey or Debo on a toss, on a reverse, a swing, whatever it is? Get him the ball quick. I just felt like Kyle Shanahan stopped doing what he does best. You at the league, you run the ball, screen, slant route, glance route. That's your type of offense. Your type of offense is like 3 yards in the cloud of dust. If you played around sport, you played football, it's 3 yards in the cloud of dust. That is his offense. So when you have the lead, you have to lean towards that. I don't know what he was doing when he just started throwing the ball. Now this is about the overtime. I think that he got the ball first, right? I think he did that because Patrick Mahomes is going to go score a touchdown. I think he was going to go and score a touchdown, no matter if Patrick Mahomes got the ball first or second. But I don't think he wanted that pressure to be on Purdy. If Patrick Mahomes went down there and scored a touchdown, knowing that Purdy had to come out and score after that. I think he kind of took like the keys out of Purdy's hands by taking the ball first on offense. And I don't think we can't win like that. Like,
but the first drive, you were all the way on their 10-yard line before the penalties. Why didn't you feed the ball to Christian McCaffrey? It was 1st and goal. And all you had to do was keep feeding him the ball. He's going to put it in the end zone. He would have gotten you that 10 yards. There's no question he would have. And what did he do? He decided to trust Brock Purdy's arm. This is a rookie kid. This was the 7th round draft pick. He's playing against Patrick Mahomes. He's in overtime, Super Bowl 58. Pressure's on him. His family's watching him. And he's probably itching his ass, wondering or sweating. His balls are sweating because he doesn't know what to do when he's outside of the pocket. And what does he do? He throws the ball to guys you'd never even heard of until this game, Jennings being one of them. I mean, honestly, I'm not throwing Jennings under the bus, but who the hell is he? You have Deebo Samuel, you have Brandon Ayuk, you have Christian McCaffrey, you have George Kittle. You have all these weapons, and the only person you're thinking about throwing to is Jennings. I mean, come on, man. It tells me one thing. You're not being coached right on the sidelines.
Like you just said, man. I said Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk had 8 catches for the entire game.
Crazy.
McCaffrey had 8 catches himself.
Mm-hmm.
So they had 8 catches for 86 yards. Christian McCaffrey had 8 catches for 80 yards. That don't even make sense. You give me them are all pros. They have an offense with 5 all pros on their offense, and it's not including Brock Purdy. 5 all pros. You have to get the ball to your weapon. Another thing, in the 4th quarter, Chiefs just went down there, kicked the field goal. It's 16-16.
Mm-hmm.
49ers got the ball back. Just under 6 minutes left. They got 2 timeouts, just under 6 minutes left. Purdy could have ended it all. This is Kyle Shanahan's offense right there. 6 minutes left in the game. This tie game. You got 2 timeouts. The Chiefs don't have to see the ball again.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to see the ball again. You put out all your fancy running plays, all your different little reverses and veer sweeps and all that screen, all that shit. You pull that out to drain the clock, keep getting first down, drain the clock, keep getting first down, and to the point where they use their timeouts, they can't use the 2-minute warning, and they end up kicking the field goal with the time going out. But what do? You get down, you cross the 50, first and 10, you run the ball with Christian McCaffrey, 2nd and 5. The next 2 plays, he runs 2 throwing plays. I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is, bro. Like, I have no idea what that is. Like, I know they like to say players be choking and stuff, and players have these moments where they'll drop a wide open pass or miss a wide open layup in basketball, or I don't know in baseball what they can do. I guess they run it and try to catch the ball over the thing, they drop it and the game over. I don't know. But if we look at Kyle Shanahan, I kind of looked at him away like, I don't know. You kind of was coaching a little scary right there, bro. I don't know. It just kind of threw me off with his play calling and his decision making. I don't know. It just looked like.
Here's another thing, Tony. And by the way, we are speaking to former Dolphins and Giants cornerback Tony Lippett. He's a friend of the show. He knows football. Obviously, he had a pretty good career in the NFL, and he played against some of the best wide receivers in the league. It's so funny because I was watching the game and I was going to win $5,000. My box was there. It was 1916. I was like, yes, I got the 6. I got the 9. I'm ready to go. Minute and 40.
You bet on the 49ers?
No. I had a box. I had 6 and 9. I had the 6 and 9 number. I had Niners 9 and Kansas City 16.
Okay.
So 6. I had 6 and 9. So there's a minute and 45 seconds. They kick a field goal, and my friend's texting me, "We're going to win $5,000." And I say, "We're not going to win $5,000." And I said, and he says, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Because you have Patrick Mahomes. He's going to take the ball all the way down. They're going to kick a field goal. It's going to go into overtime." This is one of the best defenses in the league. Okay, you have Nick Bosa, you have Chase Young, you have all these guys, Hargrave, you have Warner. They have all these guys, all these defensive players. All you had to do was stop Patrick Mahomes in one of those plays, put him back, bring him back, and sack him. If you do that and you don't give and double team Kelsey, you did that all game long in the first half. You wouldn't even let him touch the ball. And then they threw the interception because he forced the ball in the 3rd quarter to him, and it went over his head, and they intercepted the ball. All you had to do was take Kelsey out. You take Kelsey out, you win the game. What did they do? Kelsey touched the ball twice, and one of them was 30 yards, which put him in field goal range where they kicked the field goal and took it overtime. All they had to do was stop Travis Kelsey. They win the game. And what did that defense do? They choked. And don't blame Steve Wilks. Kyle Shanahan wants to blame it on somebody. He blames it on Steve Wilks, who had a great game plan against Patrick Mahomes in the first half. It's his fault. It's Kyle Shanahan's fault because all he had to do was dominate the game running the ball, and he gave his defense too much time. He gave that offense too much time on the field, and it tired out his defense, and that's why they lost the game.
This is the third Super Bowl where we're coming from this game with Kyle Shanahan in the game talking about he should have just ran the ball.
Mm-hmm.
This is the third one
mm-hmm.
with the Falcons, the previous Chiefs 49ers matchup, and now this one. What's the problem? Like you said, they did a great job stopping Travis Kelce in the first half. First half, he had one catch for 1 yard. He was pushing. He
attacked Andy Reid.
He was bumping Andy Reid. He was sitting on the sideline. Patrick Mahomes arguing with the wide receiver. I like that, by the way, too. I like the Rasheed Rice guy. He's a nice receiver for sure.
Yes, he is.
But it's just like, man, they just left too much on the clock. They didn't like you can't leave like the door open for Patrick Mahomes. Like we have seen him come back in the playoffs. His last two Super Bowls, he was down by 10 in both of them and won both of them. The last game that you played versus him last time, the 49ers and the Chiefs, they were down by 11 with like 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
And you lost that game. So it's like, you got to open the window up. You have to beat him. Like you have to go out there and take it. You're not going to be able to do that throwing dinks and dunks and not sticking to your script, not sticking to how you play ball. And they just got away from it. Like I would have gave the ball to Christian McCaffrey more. Like I understand Brandon Ayuk is a wide receiver and Kittle is this and all of those guys are that. But it's one game on the line. They win this game, man. They ain't complaining about nothing. Bro, if I catch one catch in the Super Bowl and we win, I'm hyped. I don't care because I know what I've done this season. I know my impact that I had this entire season. This is just this game. This is a big game. So the fact that they lost and I didn't touch the ball like that, I'm heated. Not my family's tweeting and Instagram and stuff about I need to get up out of here because we ain't having it, man. Like I just can't deal with that. But I don't know, man. I think the 49ers, I think their window have closed as well.
I think so too. I think it's done. I think Kyle Shanahan next year, they're not going to. I think the Lions are going to be very dangerous next year. They got a lot of money. They got $56 or $58 million. All they need to add is some corners. They bring in a veteran corner that can help on one side. You draft another corner. You solidify your secondary. You have a good front seven. You have the best offensive line, best young offensive line in football. You got a great running game. You have Gibbs and Montgomery. I think they made a mistake not giving the ball to Montgomery more in that game because he was dominating the 49ers early in the game. That was Dan Campbell's fault. And they have the wide receivers. They have St. Brown. They have Laporto, I think, is the best tight end in football in a year or two. This guy's going to be so dominant, such a good piece that they have. And they got Williams. I mean, that guy is lightning fast when he's on the field. So we haven't even seen the best of Williams. All he's got to do is stay out of trouble, stop betting on football, and stop doing stupid things. I mean, if he stops doing that, hey, maybe we'll see what he's really worth. And I think he's a special player. So they've got just a very, very talented team. And they're not the only ones. Look at the Packers. Look at what they did this year. And you still have the Eagles. I'm not a big fan of the coaching staff that they brought in. Kellen Moore, come on. That guy can't coach for crap. I mean, he's better off coaching a Pee-wee football team. He's an Adam Gase. That's what he is. He cannot coach in the NFL. And as we've seen Dak Prescott having the numbers that he had this year with Mike, I can't. And by the way, Justin Herbert, if you look at his numbers, he didn't play all season because he had a broken finger or a jammed finger. Even when he was playing, was he having the season he had the year before that? Absolutely not. It has everything to do with Kellen Moore. So that's a failure. That's a failure of a hire.
Tony knows it all firsthand. He played with Adam Gase.
He did. That was my coach for 2 years. But
I feel bad for you. Well, he's Adam Gase. I would say this, Tony. He's better than Robert Saleh. Okay, I mean, Robert Saleh has been an absolute bust too. I don't want to hear Robert Saleh. I'm taking tickets. I'm taking receipts. How about you take your receipts and shove it up your ass? How's that? Shove them so far up. I'll spit it. I'll spit on the receipts so it really gets up those asses of yours. He is an idiot. He is an absolute idiot. He needs to go back to Kyle Shanahan and that defense. I don't want him here anymore. He needs to shut his mouth because every time he opens it, it makes me want to hurl. Okay. It just, I don't want to hear his crap. That defense, if there's a defense that shut down Kansas City this year, it was the Jets. If you look at Patrick Mahomes' numbers in that game, he has never had a worse game against anybody. And they were holding the Jets the whole game. And the Jets still dominated on the defensive side of the ball. It was only that stupid referee that was calling that stupid call.
Didn't something happen at the end of that game where they ended up losing?
The
holding penalty.
A holding penalty. Well, it shouldn't have been called. It wasn't holding anybody. He had a better effort holding a dog than holding a player. I mean, seriously, there was no way he was holding. But hey, you know what? That's Kansas City. They always get the calls. They've always had that. And you have to beat Patrick Mahomes. Like you just said, if you want to beat the best, you got to beat him. You got to flat out beat him. They had Nick Bosa. All you have to do, you had Chase Young. You made the trade to bring him in. You have to put pressure on this guy. How did you not? And by the way, I don't care what the referees say. I don't care about the second half. If you watch that game over and over again in the second half, they were holding. Kansas City's offensive line was holding the whole game. Nick Bosa was getting thrown around. I have no idea how the referees weren't calling penalties on that. Every time he was going in and out and they would try to jerk in, the right tackle was grabbing him. The guards were grabbing him and throwing him to the ground. That's holding. That was holding. So I don't understand the referees either. They're a bunch of idiots over there too.
It's because Brock Purdy is not dating Taylor Swift.
That's true. How about this? And by the way, I'm not going to lie here. I would have rather been in that press box than play football. Okay, look how many beautiful women were in there. I mean, you had Vanessa Hutchins, you had a Lively over there. Hey, Taylor Swift. I would have just hung out over there. You know, Jason pulling off his shirt, dancing around with his tits hanging out. I probably would have been better off looking at his tits than watching that football game. Okay, especially in the first half, it made me sick to my stomach. All right, it just. I honestly do. I'm going to tell you the truth, Tony. I'm going to tell you, I ate this like really hot, like sauce thing. And for like the second quarter, for like the last 6-7 minutes of the second quarter, I was hiding in the bathroom, man. I was just letting loose, enjoying myself in there. I didn't even care what was going on in the second quarter.
You ain't missed nothing.
No, well, they were missing something in that bathroom. I can tell you that right now. I hope I didn't clog the toilet.
But no, man, like you said, man, they definitely said a lot right there. But the Jets, they got Aaron. I mean, you lose Aaron Rodgers, the third player of the season.
Let's not count too much.
Like you can have the best defense in the world. It don't matter. It's not 2001. This ain't the 2000 Ravens, where there were really not a lot of good quarterbacks in the league. Now there's probably about 15 good quarterbacks. You know, you probably got 5 game changer. You know, the whole game changer game. There's about 20 quarterbacks that can like play now. There's not a lot of Kyle Bowlers and Tommy Maddoxes and
you don't like Kyle Bowler?
No, I ain't like Kyle Bowler. It wasn't that good. Not with the Ravens, no.
How about Blake Bortles? You like him?
Who?
Blake Bortles.
No, that was a Jaguars quarterback, right?
Oh boy, was he ever? You know, it's so funny, Tony. I'll tell you a funny, quick story. We had a guy on our network, and he absolutely adored Blake Bortles. He would stick up for Blake Bortles.
He thought he was better than Dak.
Dak Prescott. He was telling me all this crap. I'm like, dude, what are you on drugs? What are you smoking? He tells me he met him and he hung out with him. He drank with him. I said, I don't care if you were hanging out with him and having an orgy with him. It wouldn't make. He's not better than Dak Prescott.
It's also the same guy. The same guy also had a ticket his rookie year to Sam Darnold's Hall of Fame ceremony.
Oh, that's another joke, by the way.
Oh man, hey, the Jets didn't went through it with y'all quarterbacks. Y'all done drafted top two quarterbacks that y'all don't even have on y'all team within the last like 6 years. Oh my, what y'all gonna do when Aaron Rodgers leave?
Are you trying to make me sad? Are you trying to make me just pout or something?
Tony, maybe they'll have Jordan Love in 7 years.
Are you really trying to upset me, Tony? I do enough of that. Tony, every year at the end of the season, I have a beautiful closet. I have a walk-in closet. I shut the light, I close the door, and I weep, okay? You want to know the truth? I want to cut my Jets jerseys at the end of the season because I can't stand being a Jet fan. Every year every single year. This is our year, and I hear it all the time. All these Jet fans, yeah, we look great in the preseason. Great, we look great in the preseason. Wow, our quarterback made 5 passes. Great job.
The great Chris Streveler.
Great, wonderful,
Man of God.
wonderful. I will say this: the Jets have a great running back in Breece Hall. They have a fantastic running back. They have a fantastic wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. If they get another wide receiver, a Devontae Adams, or another game-changing wide receiver on the other side, they could be. Aaron Rodgers is one of those game changers. If there's somebody that can beat Patrick Mahomes in a big game, if you have that defense, it's him. He could do it. He can absolutely do it, but you need to protect him, and that's something they couldn't do this year. Hence the reason why after 4 plays, he was out for the season with an Achilles torn.
He was definitely scrambling for his life. For the first 4 plays of his Jets career, he was scrambling for his life already. Yeah, they definitely need to find ways to protect him, though. If they get Devontae Adams, that'd be sick. But hey, man, they gonna challenge. They should challenge. I'm gonna say if Aaron Rodgers is healthy.
Don't say going, because you're jinxing us now. Don't say going. They should.
I ain't gonna say that. I ain't gonna say they going. I'm saying the odds are in their favor a little bit to make a playoff run. You know, because they got the defense, and if you have a quarterback, it just helps everybody. When you have a quarterback, it helps the entire team, bro.
Are you watching movies, if you know what I mean? The odds are in his favor. Come on. Is this The Mockingjay? Are you watching too much of that movie? No. The odds are in your favor. The only odds are in the Jets' favor is them getting shot in the ass or something. Aaron Rodgers, you're going to hear, watch, Tony, you're going to hear in a couple of weeks, Aaron Rodgers he's going to go out with a bunch of boys. He's going to go to a movie theater. He's going to get drunk, and then he's going to say, hey, you know what? Let's go on a roof and see if we can jump off the roof. And he's going to break his leg. His career is going to be over, and then we're going to be talking about, hey, you know what the Jets should have done? They should have just all went to the what does he drink? What does he smoke? Ayahuasca. They should all smoke ayahuasca. They should all go and have a dream or wherever in a dark row, and maybe they wake up from that dream and they win a Super Bowl, because it is a dream. It is a dream for all us Jet fans to believe that the Jets are going to win a Super Bowl in any time soon, when it just seems like every year it goes up, and they crash down.
It is New York.
You did play for New York. You were a Giant.
I'm just saying, you know, the crazy things happen in New York. It is New York.
Well, taking dumps, which I do a lot of.
This can be that year, but
I dropped. You know what I did? I say this to everybody on Super Bowl 58. I dropped a Deuce McAllister. That's what I did.
Deuce McAllister won a Super Bowl, though. The Jets are still trying to find that.
Hey, listen. We should interview Deuce.
I think I've reached out to him.
Deuce, I was deucing. You know.
Okay, so are we looking at repeat? What's up? What's the odds next year?
No, I don't think they repeat, because here's the problem. And I've said this, and I know everybody thinks that's what's going to happen. It's never happened before. Mm-hmm. Patrick Mahomes, you definitely want to bet on him, and if you're a betting man, you would probably do that and put a couple of dollars on it. But I think there are going to be a lot of good teams in the AFC in their division by itself. Jim Harbaugh is going to be there. Justin Herbert's going to be healthy. You have Joe Burrow coming back.
Yep.
I think he's dangerous.
And with the Super Bowl in New Orleans, too. You want to ride the scripting theory.
Yeah. So you have Joe Burrow there. I still think the Vegas Raiders will be better. I think they found a coach. Now, hopefully he can put it together in the first half of the season so he doesn't get fired. It's so interesting. Bill Belichick came out, and I thought Bill Belichick has a good chance of being the Giants coach, not after what he just said. I mean, he's throwing the Giants under the bus. He's been throwing the Giants under the bus for the last week. He said that he's telling coaches not to go to the Giants. If Dabo gets fired, that he's told a lot of different coaches that are available, Mike Vrabel being one of them, and quite a few other coaches that are very close with him, saying that the Giants aren't the organization to go to because they're run badly right now.
And, great. We'll end up with Adam Gase.
Mm-hmm. So
good luck.
Yeah. I mean, and I haven't even spoke about it. I'll speak about it tomorrow about Bill Belichick coming out and saying what he said. There's a couple of quotes that are very, very interesting. But I just think Bill Belichick will be available, even though everybody keeps saying Bill Belichick will never get another job again. I disagree. I disagree. Go ahead.
It's gonna take a already solidified owner.
Yes.
It's like I said, like it was teams that was like interested in him this year. I heard the Falcons. I thought Washington would be
Tough too, yeah.
candidates, but they was just like, they didn't want him to come in there and just ship everybody out and give all of the keys to him, because he's gonna want all the keys. He's gonna want all the control and things like that. He's not gonna want to come down from where he was with the Patriots, and I don't think he should. I mean, he's a 6-time NFL champion, Super Bowl champion, and before that, he went to multiple Super Bowls as well with the Giants. I mean, like, he's a great coach. I mean, people can say what they want to say about him, and he's not good with Tom Brady. I mean, when you play 20 years with somebody, I mean, that's a big part of your career. Like Tom Brady could have left after 7 years if he wanted to. I'm just gonna throw that out. He could have left. He already had 3 rings. He could have went and got his money if he wanted to.
I got a team for you. You ready to hear this? I think I've been thinking about this after the Giants thing. I said it's probably not going to be a Giant. You ready to hear the team that might bring him in if the position opens up?
I think I know you're talking about. But
Let's go. Give it to me.
Is it the Steelers?
No.
Okay.
They're not an organization that will let him have control. So, you ready? I'll give you another guess.
Who will not have a head coach next year?
I already know who it is, and I'm going to tell you.
The Eagles?
Nope.
Oh, I ain't got no.
You're not an organization. Laurie is running that organization.
Howie Roseman will never allow that.
Yeah.
He's done too well to have.
That's not going to happen.
Control the Bill Belichick. Just hire Matt Patricia as an defensive coordinator. It didn't work.
I'll give you one more guess.
The Bills. The Bills?
No.
Dang, I just named 3 squads.
You ready?
Yeah.
Jacksonville Jaguars. I absolutely believe it. Doug Peterson, if they don't get over the hump this year, they got knocked out in the final week of the season with Trevor Lawrence and that talent. If they do it again this year, they're going to fire Doug Peterson, and the GM over there is going to get fired.
Who's already
too.
not great anyway.
Yeah, so he's going to get fired too. That's an organization with the ownership over there and what he likes to do. He will give the reins to Bill Belichick, and he has Trevor Lawrence. He's got a pretty good defense set up over there. He's got some good offensive weapons over there. I mean, Christian Kirk over there, he reminds me of an Edelman. He's that kind of guy. I mean, he's small but fast. He can run routes. I think it's a perfect fit for Bill Belichick. And quote me on this. And remember, Tony, I'm going to tell you at the end of next season, I'm going to say, Tony, I'm going to get Tony Lippett on. I'm going to tell you, he is going to be a name to be watching. If Doug Peterson doesn't get this team in the playoffs or they don't make a run, they're going to fire him in the offseason. And you mark my words. The Jaguars will interview Bill Belichick, because who was the VP GM or VP a couple of years
operations.
Football operations. It was Tom Coughlin. So, and Tom Coughlin was a part of that organization. And Tom Coughlin, him and Bill Belichick are very, very close. All Tom Coughlin has to do is reach out to the Jaguars and say, you need to hire this guy. This guy could change your organization within the next 2 or 3 years. So, and he'll get him over the hump, because he's got a quarterback that he can win with, and he's got a team that he can win with. And I'm telling you, Jacksonville makes a lot of sense.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. I wouldn't even think about Jacksonville, but that is a great option right there. They don't really have a culture built there. They got a quarterback, though. They got ETN in the backfield. What's the tight end name? Shit.
Evan Engram. You were a teammate with him for a year.
I'm tripping. Like, that's what I'm saying. He just shipped it out.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
He was a little not as good as he was now at that.
Yeah,
time.
his nickname over there with the Giants was Pot Hands.
Okay? But I always seen it though. He just was hurt. He was hurt a lot with the Giants, right? He was hurt a lot. But I seen the potential there, and if he was able to just lock in, which we seeing now, and he's a guy that making plays right now. But that is though, because they don't really have no culture. They don't have no no big history. They don't have I can definitely see that move right there.
The owner would absolutely give him the reins. I guarantee you that owner would absolutely say, here, take the GM position, take the coaching position. I'll let you run my organization. He's the type of owner that would say, here, I'll give you the keys. He will do it.
And that division is tough, because they got a lot of young quarterbacks in that division with CJ Stroud, Richardson, and Will Levis. Potentially,
honestly, and I like all of those guys, but let's be honest, Trevor Lawrence is probably still the best one out of all of them.
No.
So I like CJ Stroud too, but I want to see it 2 years in a row. I want
Okay.
to see 2 years in a row. If he does it I love CJ Stroud. I asked Speedy. I was the only one. I thought he was the best quarterback in that class.
Me too.
I loved him. I loved him. And I said that he's going to be special. But I have to see 2 years in a row. So that sophomore year sometimes, because Trevor Lawrence's sophomore year was like, so I want to see I want to see those numbers keep rising. And if he does, he's got Dell. He's got some nice weapons over at Collins. He's got weapons over there. If he can get it together again in his second year, then I would say CJ Stroud's the best quarterback in that division. But right now, I still think it's Trevor Lawrence. I still think until proven otherwise.
And so Texas could end up with Saquon too.
Yeah, but Trevor Lawrence got to take it to another level this year because CJ Stroud did last year. Especially losing. They should have made the playoffs. They should have won the division, but they ended up losing that last game and knocking themselves all the way out of the playoffs.
They were in the first place practically the whole season.
They did the reversal the year before.
That was crazy. They last year they did what the Houston did this year. Ended up winning the division like the last minute, and they win the home game. Then they win the home game. Yeah, it was down. They won the home game. So I like that. But like I said, Trevor Lawrence got to take it to another level. And if he takes it to another level and they just don't make the playoffs and they fire the coach and Bill Belichick come into that program with Trevor Lawrence and ETN and that nucleus of guys they got there, he can create what he wants to. Because he won a coach. Like I think he's under 20 games away from being the all-time.
Not sure,
yeah.
He want to do that. Like he don't not want to do that. So that was a good pick right there, though. That was a good pick. I said Buffalo because Sean McDermott, they might let him go.
Come on, Tony. There's a reason why I host a show, man. I'm not that dumb. I mean, some people would look at that dumb white kid. What does he know about football? Quarterback wannabe. Actually, I never played quarterback when I played football.
Pretty smart, man.
I was actually fast. I was a wide receiver and a corner, like you. But there was something about the sport of. I was more of a hockey player. I like to just talk crap and hit people. Oh man, I was a vicious. I graduated at 140 pounds in high school. 140 pounds. But man, I had speed and I can hit people, man. And when I hit people, I talk so much crap, man. I was a pain in the damn ass. My coach used to tell me, dude, he used to sit me on the bench and he used to tell me after every single shift, he'd pull me to the side. He says, if you're going to talk, you better be putting the puck in the net. That's what he told me. And every time I went out there, I tried to put the puck in the net because I was talking every time I was out there. So it was, I was a competitor. I love to compete. And you too, man. I mean, you were an NFL player. I mean, you were the best in high school at your position. I'm sure of it. And you were you were one of the best in college. When you get drafted and when you make it to the NFL and you have, even if you're in the league for 5, 6, 7 years, you're the best in the world. You're one of the best in the world.
You want to know something funny?
What?
I played corner in the NFL, right? In high school, I played quarterback.
I know that, by the way. I know that.
And then in college, I played wide receiver. Now, I played some corner, but not really. I was a wide receiver. I was a full wide receiver in college. I played corner some games. Sometimes I played like my freshman year and like the last few years of my senior year I played, but I was a wide receiver for sure. And then went to the league and played corner.
Yeah, well, you were lightning fast. That's why. You were lightning fast.
I would probably say I was a lightning athlete than lightning fast. I was like a 4.5. That ain't lightning fast.
But in that time, that's fast. I mean, now it's like nothing.
I wouldn't get burnt, or I was able to run past people and catch people. So I mean,
if you can run honestly, in those times, that was a while ago. Now, if you're running, you have to run a 4.3 or 4.3.5 to be something. But in that time, a 4.5 is pretty good. It's not slow. Okay, so and yes, you were very athletic. So that's why you can transition from a quarterback position because of your legs and your ability and your athletic ability. You can move to the wide receiver and cornerback position because you're an athlete. And when you're an athlete, you probably could have played running back. You could have probably. You could have done anything that you want. I don't think you could have been an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman. You're too thin. You're too small. But you would have been tossed around like a puppy dog. I almost said peppermint patty, but hey, listen, I like peppermint patties. They're good. I just can't eat too many of them right now. I might get a little fat.
Just don't play wide receiver for the Packers, where they just all like to do is block early, and then not get penalized.
Hey, Packers, watch out for the Packers though. The NFC gonna be live though. So like I said, it ain't gonna be easy for the 49ers because
You know what? Yeah, what do you think? You think I can? You think I could grow my hair out like you? And what do you think? Grow it out a little bit.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead, keep growing it.
Dude, I cut it because my hair was all over the place. I
you
cut it. I put some dye in it, man. I mean, it looks beautiful. When people look at me, they're like, what? I don't want to say what they say, but hey, they look at me like, why did you get blonde streaks? I say, well, why are you so damn ugly? So that's what I say to people when they ask me questions like that. Why did you get blonde streaks? Well, why are you so damn ugly? I could care less what you think.
You probably say it just like that too. Like
I
no
do.
filter, no.
Listen, Tony, I could be vicious. I am.
Hey, you got to sometime, and somebody got to do it, right?
But you know what it is when I'm vicious, I do it in a funny way. So it's not to be like some people take it to the side. Are you seriously talking to me like that? I walk to him. I said, if I was seriously talking to you like that, I'd probably put my foot in your ass. So I'm not seriously talking to you like that. I just have fun. Speedy knows I have a little bit of fun with everybody. I do a lot of weird, crazy things.
And we take shots at guys on our network that make bad takes, including one of our callers that said he would want to move on from Dak Prescott this offseason and start Trey Lance.
Don't you dare.
I mean, if I not Trey Lance. I mean, if I could get if I could somehow, something can happen and I can mess around and get the number 1 pick and get Caleb Williams, I might think about doing that.
You're going to trade your next 10 years worth of drafts, pretty much.
Hey, if he is what the people saying he is, and he is what I think he is, I trade him right now. I trade Caleb Williams right now.
I don't know.
Jerry Jones will never let him buy stock in the team like he wants.
Hey, listen, Jerry Zone was also the one that wanted to draft Johnny Manziel. So. I like Johnny. If Johnny just stayed away from the drugs and the craziness, I think Johnny could have gone down as one of the greats. I don't care what anybody says. His ability on a football field, when you have Nick Saban coming out and saying he's the greatest quarterback he's ever played against, and he's played against some great quarterbacks. When he comes out and says that about Johnny Manziel, it says a lot about who he was as a player. So, unfortunately, just he had problems, emotional problems, and he was bipolar, and he had a lot of disorders. And when he came into the NFL, he just couldn't handle the pressure, and that happens.
I think he just got fatigued. Like he kind of got it all too early. He kind of just got it. Obviously, he probably had a whole bunch of other things going on, but
of course,
I think he just kind of got bored with it. He kind of got bored with it, and he was kind of done with it. Like some people just be like, all right, this is the highest of the high. He was at the highest of the high. I remember Johnny Manziel in college because I was in college, and he was the talk everywhere. So I can only imagine being him. You know what I'm saying? I want to be myself for sure, but
of course,
I'm just saying being in his shoes, Texas A&M, being that guy, winning the Heisman. Did he win it as a freshman or a sophomore?
Freshman, I think.
I think it was a sophomore. I think he was a
Wasn't
candidate.
he a freshman? No, he was a candidate as a freshman.
year.
You sure? I think he won as a freshman. He was the first one to win.
And then he won it as a freshman. I think he won.
He won as a red. All right, he redshirted. I didn't realize.
Yes.
So yeah, that's labeled as a freshman.
Well, he was a freshman still. Like coming in, winning the Heisman is like shit. And then just him being him, man. He probably was just like, man, I'm kind of done with it.
He hung out with the wrong people, and he wanted his friends around him. And then when he went to, he kind of pushed. I watched the 30 for 30, I think it was, or something. It was on Netflix. Yeah, it was on Netflix. I watched it too, and I think it had a lot to do with him and his friend, kind of losing touch, and his friend was, all his friends were pretty much traveled with him, and he would party. I saw so many stories. He was partying at certain times over the nights, and he would go and play a football game and put up 400 yards and put up numbers like that. I mean, it's unbelievable what Johnny Manziel did. I don't care what anybody says about Johnny Manziel. He was a misunderstood player. I would love to get Johnny Manziel on this show. You know why I would love to get Johnny Manziel on the show? Because I have a lot of respect for him. Yes, he made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah.
It's how you go from those mistakes, and even though you're the laughing stock and some people laugh at you because of what you could have been, you still go out there, even though you're the pitter patter of the laughing stock of people coming out and making fun of you, you still go out there and laugh about it because that's the type of player you were. So
It's sad what happened to him. But there's a lot of players. Look at Leaf. Look at him.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wouldn't even say it's sad though. You feel me? Because like he does some great things. Like I don't like. Okay, he didn't do probably what people expected him to do in the league, but if you watch that, he said when he got to the league, he didn't care about it no more.
He didn't. No.
He didn't care. So like he probably did everything he wanted to do. So I don't feel sad for him. If he wanted to still play in some type of way, he would have did it. But you know, young, with all the money, with all the fame, with all of this, you're not really knowing exactly what's going on. And sometimes you just stop caring. And I think that was
I don't when I say sad, I'm not sad. Like I feel sad that nobody got a chance to see what he could have been, you know. And I think
we did though. Maybe we did see what he could have been. Like maybe we didn't see what he was. Heisman quarterback, beat Alabama, one of the best college quarterbacks we've seen. One of the best college players. Like him, he's up there with like Tebow on that college. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe that was what it was for him.
Well, he definitely doesn't pray enough. That's for sure. Hey, I'll do the praying for him. You ready? You ready? I put up a line over here and I take a little straw. All right, let's go. I'm going to church. Let's go. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. By the way, Johnny, I love you. Anyways, we love you, Tony. Thank you for all your time. We'll definitely talk to you before the season starts. You're fantastic. Go check out his podcast, Speak on It. It's a fantastic podcast. And Tony really gives you some good content, and he talks a lot of football. So check him out. All over YouTube, all over Apple Podcasts, wherever you can find the podcast, check him out.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all, man. It's all love. 3P. Chiefs 3P.
If they 3-peat, I'm going to be mad at you, man.
You know I'll be back. You know I'll be back.
Yeah.
3P.
What are you, the Terminator or something?
Maybe Tony will be
all
playing.
love, man. Appreciate you.
We do too, man. Thank you, Tony.
Yes, sir.
Tony Lippett, ladies and gentlemen, former Giant, former Dolphin. As you heard, he was a quarterback in high school. Then he was a wide receiver, and then obviously he was drafted and he became a cornerback in the NFL. Fantastic personality, and definitely go check out his podcast. It is fantastic. There's a couple of stories I want to get into before we go, and Tony gave us some good, good content. He really did. The Knicks filed a protest with the NBA to dispute the loss to the Rockets on Monday night. The referees called a foul on Jalen Brunson, sending Aaron Holiday to the free throw line with 0.3 seconds left in a tie game. Crew chief Ed Malloy acknowledged that the foul called against Brunson was the wrong call. The Knicks protest would hope to get a tie game or just get rid of the loss on their record. Only 6-game protests in NBA history have been upheld, with the most recent being in 2007 with the Heat. The Knicks are 4th in the Eastern Conference with now a 33-22 record. They lost tonight, so it's 33-22. They lose a big game against Orlando and actually got smashed up in Orlando, so not very good. And the Knicks, since the trade, they haven't won a game. Okay, it hasn't been good, but again, the Knicks are right now trying to get healthy. They don't have Julius Randle. Hopefully, Mitchell Robinson will be back soon. They're getting, reassurances back. And OG Anunoby. I said OJ. OG Anunoby coming back. That's absolutely going to benefit the Knicks when he comes back. So the Knicks right now are trying to keep afloat and stay afloat. Bogdanovich has looked pretty good, but we don't know how they're going to use Bogdanovich until all these guys come back. Then we'll really figure out where and how he fits to this team. But it's crazy right now. It really is. And the Eastern Conference is so close together. There's 5 very close teams. The Heat, I believe, will warm up and when Jimmy Butler comes back after the All-Star break. And I still think they're a dangerous team. They have Spoelstra. I think he's the best coach in the NBA. There's no question. And he probably understands the playoffs more than anybody does besides Greg Popovich. He understands how to play against teams, how to defend against the better teams with better offenses, especially on the perimeter. And he's got the players to do it and with the athletic ability that they have. Now, I feel bad for Jalen Brunson because Jalen Brunson was crying, not crying, but arguing after the call. He did not touch Holiday. Okay. He didn't put, there was nowhere, he was nowhere close. And by the way, they were watching the video and they were checking how much time was left on the clock when they should have been watching and looking if it was really a foul. If you know it wasn't really a foul and you have the coaches yelling, you have the players yelling, why don't you just put on the headset and go and look if it was a foul? I understand you can't, with the last minute of the game, you really can't do anything about it. But if you know that that the player did not touch him, and 2 out of the 3 referees said we know that he didn't touch him, but the main referee called the foul, and he's not even going to go out there and even look at the video to even complain about it. That says a lot about the NBA, and the NBA needs to fix this rule. This rule needs to be fixed because it cost the Knicks a win. It might have cost, and we don't know what's going to happen in overtime, but it might have cost the Knicks a win.
Right.
And to me, if you're a Knicks fan, you can't be happy about it. It was being attacked all over social media and all over the basketball world. Everybody knows it wasn't a foul. Jalen Brunson was about 3-4 inches away from him.
Mm-hmm. And again, this is not a call that is that close either. It was not a foul. It was a clean contest. Jalen Brunson swipes his hand down in the shooter's face and barely touches him. That's not a foul.
He didn't even touch him.
Yeah,
barely touched him.
Yeah,
he didn't put his hands on him.
If you're going to call a foul that soft, it's usually on the shooting arm. Even he didn't even foul him on the shooting arm. He fouled him in the middle of his body. That's not a foul by any means possible. The guy's already leaning forward in order to make the shot because it's a practically half-court shot. You have to take that into account too, which the NBA has done better in terms of leveraging that against the offensive player. But why didn't they call it there? And like you were saying, the NBA has to change the fact that they have these post-game reports, these referee reports that say, "Oh, we missed the call." This happens a lot in the NBA, much more than any other sport. And it's a big issue that they have never fixed for a while. And the fact that they don't have the replay technology in order to change that, and the referees don't say, all right, this clearly wasn't a foul. Let's either get an inbound play or something like that. Because the Knicks would have had the ball at 0.3 seconds. They probably don't make a shot, but they play on at that point. The referees stall the game a lot longer for a lot less.
And again, I know a lot of Knicks fans say that it only happens to Knicks on Twitter. I've read it. I follow a lot of different Knicks fans. A lot of Knicks fans follow me, so I'm checking out their posts and all the different things that happen after the Knicks game. Yeah, if you're a Knicks fan, you're not going to be happy about this. The Knicks finally have a team. You're finally excited about this team moving forward as the season comes to the All-Star break this coming weekend. You would think, and by the way, now the trade deadline's over. The Knicks won the trade deadline, so everybody thinks, hey, look at the advantage the Knicks have right now coming off their bench when they get healthy. Yeah, but right now the Knicks aren't playing good basketball. They're missing 4 big pieces to this team, and the way this team could be playing right now, it might even be closer to first than they are closer to fifth. So I understand, and I know Knicks fans are not excited about what happened against Houston. And Houston Rockets are an up-and-coming team. They're a good team. Okay, they have a very good coach, even though he needs to keep his, to himself. He needs to keep his hands to himself and stay out of trouble. Maybe stay away from executives or executives' wives. But nevertheless, this is a very good and very well-built, oiled machine. They're a very young team, and they're rebuilding through the draft. They're doing it right, and they added some good pieces in the offseason. Van Vliet is a phenomenal player. They've got weapons. They've got players that you can build your team around. Now, the question is, are they going to move forward in a Western Conference that's so wide open?
Yeah, they have a weapon literally, and Dylan Brooks, who likes to
love him too. By the way.
Likes to stir up crap on the court, but he dominated in the fourth quarter.
I like the pieces that they added. They added some good veterans to this team. They have a bunch of leaders to the team, and they have a bunch of youngsters that you can build around for the future. And I like Green. I think Green's an up and coming player. There was stories coming out that they were actually willing to trade him from Mikal Bridges, but Mikal Bridges already came out and told the Nets that he doesn't want to be traded there.
I know you like the center Sengun too.
Yes, I love their whole team. I think the Rockets are an up and coming team. You see what the Timberwolves are right now, and it took them a little while to build with the talent that they have. I think the Rockets are a year or 2 years away from being what the Timberwolves are right now. They haven't been good really since the 90s. They really haven't been dominant since the 90s with Hakeem Olajuwon, and when they added, obviously Charles Barkley and Clyde the Glide. I mean, they were a good team, and they won 2 championships in the 90s. They haven't been that good in a very, very long time, and they needed pieces to build around. I think they have the pieces. I think they have a very good coach, and I think they have a very good bunch of executives running the organization now, and a very good owner, by the way. So even though we all know somebody that doesn't like him, James Harden being one of them.
Yeah.
So obviously the situation and where the Houston Rockets are, I think they're in a better situation now than they ever been. And the Knicks are also too. They're up and coming. They're young. They have some good young players, and they also have good veteran players. So it's going to be very, very interesting. We're not going to see this team play, in an NBA championship anytime soon against the Knicks. But hey, I think that this is going to be fun to watch for many, many years to come. But I didn't like the call. I think the NBA needs to look at it. I think they should count it as a draw. They should not give the win to the Rockets. It's not fair, even though a draw is not really going to help any of these teams. But hey, if you have the same record as the Cleveland I'm sorry, I'm trying to get the air out of my stomach. The Cleveland Cavaliers or the 76ers or any of these teams right now fighting for that playoff spot that you're fighting for, 3rd, 4th, or even 5th. That draw could be everything to winning that spot. So I think that the league needs to look at that. It wasn't very, very fair.
No.
So.
Again, a draw is the most fair because you don't know what would have happened in overtime either. There's no guarantee the Knicks would have won the game.
And it's not because I'm a Knicks fan, ladies and gentlemen. It's just the facts. David Stearns said in a press conference on Monday that Pete Alonso is hitting free agency next season is the most likely outcome. The Mets signed Alonso to a deal worth about $20.5 million this season to avoid arbitration. Stearns has reportedly not met with Alonso since taking the Mets job in October. Scott Boras also agreed to a deal to be Alonso's agent in October. Alonso had 46 home runs this past season with 118 RBIs, a .217 batting average, and a .821 OPS last season. In 5 MLB seasons, Alonso has 192 home runs, which is the most in baseball, 490 RBIs, which I think is 3rd in baseball, and a .251 career batting average, and a .870 OPS, which is amongst the league's top 10. So he's been one of the best power hitters in baseball. If you're a Met fan, you do not want to see Pete Alonso go. Now, what you would want to see is Pete Alonso get signed in the offseason and you bring in Juan Soto, and then you have a middle of an order where you can put Pete Alonso batting 4th and you put a Juan Soto as your 3rd hitter, and you have probably the best 1-2 punch when it comes to power in baseball. Right now, the Yankees probably have that right now, sitting with Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, and maybe Giancarlo Stanton batting right behind him. So if Giancarlo Stanton gets back to and stays healthy, back to his normal, you got 3 guys that could hit over 40 home runs. And the Yankees haven't had that in a very long time. That's like murder's row. You want to talk about murder's row? That is murder's row. So I don't agree with the Mets. I don't agree with David Stearns with this story. I think they need to sit down with Pete Alonso and figure out how they can negotiate this deal where it makes sense. I don't think Pete Alonso is worth $300 million, no matter what his numbers is, because he's 30 years old, and next year he'll be 31. So he came into the league a little bit late in his career. I think his rookie season was,
he was
25 or 20,
yeah,
something like that. So I think, and the same thing with Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge came into the league a little bit later in his career.
Jacob deGrom too.
Yeah, so it took him a while to really, develop in the minors, but he is a nice player. He's a great player. He's not a me player. He got rid of his Twitter, got rid of his Instagram and his Facebook. He wants to be a team player. They gave him the polar bear name. He is everything to the Mets. And that's why I think you sign him. He is the face of the New York Mets organization. Jacob deGrom was the face of the New York Mets organization. What did they do? They let him go. They didn't want to pay him. And I don't care what anybody says. And maybe he was hurt all year, and I know Met fans were happy to get rid of him. Why? He was the best pitcher in baseball. He was one of the top 3 best pitchers in baseball. And you decided to part ways with him because, hey, he wanted to go to Texas. He wanted to have a farm. Get out of here. Pay him a little bit more money. He probably stays here in New York, and he would have been very, very happy.
Instead, they brought in the great Max Scherzer and the great Justin Verlander.
Yeah, and what did that bring you?
And Max Scherzer went to the Texas Rangers. Ended up winning a World Series, doing absolutely nothing.
It definitely didn't bring Speedy his first wet dream, that's for sure.
No, I would not have any wet dreams about Max Scherzer. But one thing I would advocate for the New York Mets that like to spend all that money and then trade all of it away is to make sure you sign your best player, because Pete Alonso not only is a great team leader, he's also extremely durable. Up until this year, he never dealt with any injury issues. And that's something that the Mets have an organization of a history of injury-prone guys with every pitcher they've had pretty much imaginable. Obviously, David Wright, Jose Reyes, all these guys that have been star players for them have all gotten hurt. Pete Alonso is a guy that has not gotten hurt. Yeah, he strikes out a lot. Yeah, his defense has been kind of suspect at certain points, but that was never his strength when he came up as a prospect. He is, in terms of raw power, one of the best in baseball in a very power-driven league. And
numbers would tell you he is the best.
Yeah, and
shout out to power right now in the last 40 years. I mean, because he's been more healthier than Aaron Judge.
Sure,
Aaron Judge is the best power hitter in baseball.
I'm not disputing.
But as far as health is concerned, and the amount of games that he's played, Pete Alonso has better power numbers than any player in baseball.
Right. And shout out to Fish, who's bringing us a lot of these great advanced stats too.
Yes.
Like Pete Alonso is a leader in one of those categories across the National League. He was that his rookie year. That's why a lot of people even thought he could have won an MVP his rookie year with how good he played.
Aaron Judge should have.
Yeah, Aaron Judge. Yeah, obviously we know Altuve cheated now, so Aaron Judge definitely should have won that one because he didn't get the help of the buzzers and the all the other stuff, that the trash cans that they cheated with. But
well, Altuve was just good to stand right next to Aaron Judge because he was about up to his waist or his crotch. So maybe he was doing something else.
That meme was,
maybe that was his trophy.
Yeah, that meme will always
give it to me, Altuve. Give me those balls. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
No, we're not going to go there. I don't think Jose Altuve will go there either.
I mean, you don't. Would you fondle?
No,
Aaron
I'm not.
Judge?
I'm not.
I mean, why? I mean, Aaron Judge is one of the greats.
I'm not messing with Aaron Judge, 6'7", 282-pound guy.
I mean, look at Altuve. If he lets Altuve do it,
okay, I don't care. Jose Altuve and Aaron Judge have a good connection as baseball players. I'm just a random person.
I watched something pretty awesome the other day. I mean, I wouldn't advise you to watch it, Speedy, because I don't know if you would understand it. But I actually saw a guy take an egg, a hard-boiled egg, and shove it up his ass, and it didn't break.
All right.
And he popped it out, man. It was like... It like shot it out. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, do you think you could do that?
No.
What? You stick an egg up your ass?
No, I don't think.
I mean, and just pop it out. Like just pop it out like a chicken.
I don't think I could do.
What do they call it? A hen?
I don't know. I think it's all types of birds do it that way. That's why there's always the chicken.
I mean, would you be some hen's rooster?
No.
I mean, you would be a good rooster.
Of course you think that.
Could you give me a rooster sound?
No.
I mean,
I'm not. I'm not doing any more impressions.
I mean,
having you laugh.
I mean, I'm serious. I mean, you would if you were a rooster, you would have your pick of the litter, man. I mean, you'd have.
I don't care.
Hens.
I'm not a rooster.
20 hens, man.
I don't care that much about the hens.
I mean, they're beautiful hens. I mean, you're talking about beautiful women right there. Okay. I mean, if you're a rooster,
if you want to do some parallel thing where we all exist as birds, you can do that.
But
in your spare time.
I'm just speaking about that. But I really saw a guy.
All right,
stick a hard-boiled
I believe
egg.
you.
Hey, he stuck it up his ass and it popped right out and it didn't even break the shell. I've never seen anything like that.
All right, yeah, there's enough people that do.
I'm questioning if you could do it. I mean,
I don't care about doing it.
I think you should try.
Of course you do.
I mean, it would be a great.
Of course you do.
I think. Listen, would you rather it not be hard boiled?
It doesn't matter.
I mean, if it pops, I mean,
I don't care. I'm not.
You're gonna get some pleasure over there. You know?
Okay, I don't care.
I mean, it would pop, man. That thing would really burst.
All right, I don't care.
I wouldn't do it with that. I would rather a hard boiled egg. You know, because at least I know it's not going to, give me a seasoned surprise. You know.
Okay. You do you.
I
just want to do these random dares.
I mean, it's not random.
People on YouTube likes to do for 50,000 views or whatever.
It wasn't YouTube. I just want to let you know.
TikTok, whatever crap you might have watched it on.
Well,
ooh, look at me.
I mean, seriously, that's pretty cool, actually. I mean, what would you rather? Oh, God. What would you rather? What would you if you were dared to stick something up your ass? What would it be?
What are the options? You said, what would you rather?
A hammer.
Oh God, no.
A cell phone.
No, I'll still go with the egg over those three.
All right, hold on. Let me think of another one. Hold on. A crayon.
Do that.
You would stick a crayon up your ass?
Much less risk of having like injury issues than an
I
egg
mean-
that could crack very easily.
I don't know if I would stick a crayon up my ass.
It's smaller. It's less.
I mean, how the hell would you get that thing out? At least you know an egg is going to pop right out, you know?
An egg is big and oval shaped. There's no
You just spread the
guarantees.
cheeks.
There's no guarantees.
You spread your cheeks. Maybe it'll slide right in, you know?
All right, you gamble on that if you care so much.
I'll think of one more thing. Let me see. A Corona bottle.
No, I'll do the crayon.
We'll do the crayon. How about a pencil?
No. I'm doing a sharp object. A crayon's not.
But we'll put it backwards. You could put it.
No.
I'm just saying. You put it.
That doesn't mean the sharp point isn't going to be in there.
I mean, to try to get it out of there. I mean, that would
Right.
hurt,
That's more what I'm concerned about.
Ladies and gentlemen, he would rather a crayon up his ass. So if you ever want to dare Speedy Petey to do anything crazy and stick something up his behind, it would be a crayon out of everything. So a crayon, interesting. What color? What color would you?
I don't care.
I mean, what's your favorite color?
Purple.
All right, so that's my favorite color. I don't want to see a purple crayon go up your ass. Then I wouldn't even like the purple anymore. I would have to go to a pink or something. I'm not. So pick another color. No purple.
Okay. A lighter blue.
Lighter blue. Yeah. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. A lighter blue crayon.
Like our banner, like that color.
Now you don't want. Now I'm changing the color of our banner.
No, we're not.
Now I'm thinking about blue.
Oh,
I don't
God,
want,
really? Come on. Oh, fish.
Oh, our executive producer, posted.
Fish, I thought you were better than this. Oh, God.
A picture of Speedy, sitting on his eggs. I like the crayons too. Hey. Oh my God. I'll leave it up to Speedy. A blue crayon, ladies and gentlemen. Interesting.
Oh, fish.
Anyways, great show. By the way, thank you to Josh Towers for joining us, former Yankees, Blue Jays, and Orioles. Go check out his podcast. He's doing some big things right now in Vegas. Fantastic personality. And thank you to former Dolphins and Giants cornerback Tony Lippett, also doing a great podcast right now. Huge following. So shout out to Tony Lippett for giving us an hour almost on a show and gave us some good content too. So shout out to him. Thank you to all the fans out there. Thank you to Speedy for being Speedy as always. The Crayon Man.
We have a new development. Fish, it might not be your fault. Our Sports Minute guy, Tommy Scoops, actually sent him the memo. So Aaron, you're a little more off the hook, but you still made it. So
I love that.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Oh, look at that. Oh. If you want crayons and you want somebody to sign your crayon box, make sure you have a blue crayon for Speedy Petey.
Finding a crayon, it's like going in my ass.
Oh, Speedy Petey, ladies and gentlemen. Check us out all over social media. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Twitch. Check us out on Twitter, everywhere. We're on every single platform. Apple Podcasts, over 73,000 downloads on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Thank you to all the fans that are downloading our show and checking us out. We really appreciate you guys, as always. Shout out to Sean Smith. Hopefully everything's okay. I know he had a family situation, so he couldn't make it to the show tonight. So I know a lot of fans are probably reaching out. I haven't checked any of my text messages, but I'm sure people are wondering what happened to Sean. So hopefully everything's okay with Sean. We'll reach out. I'll reach out to Sean tomorrow, and hopefully everything's okay. Shout out to all the fans again. Thank you to everybody for tuning in and listening to us throughout the week. Thank you to Scoops. Thank you to our executive producer and Fish. Fantastic. Posting up all the different, content that we have on the screen. So all the fans out there, you're wondering who's putting up all that artwork and doing all that stuff. That's Fish, ladies and gentlemen. Aaron Fishman, who's a fantastic executive producer. Thank you to Scoops. Like I said, our Sports Minute guy who does a great job right now with our Sports Minute. Speedy, thank you for being you.
Yeah, and here comes the chicken joke.
No, I have no
Crayon
chicken joke. No, I'm not chicken joke.
I'm waiting for the punchline.
No, there's no punchline. I am not going to punch it. I mean, unless you want me to.
No, I don't.
How about a fist?
That's the same thing.
I mean, we could punch it.
You know,
That's the same thing.
what do you mean? Is
You
my
have to put your hand.
is my fist that big where it could fit for like an egg? Would you think that?
I'm not testing that.
I mean, you just said you said you were interested, right?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I thought you did.
Well, get your ears checked.
Anyways, thank you to the fans. We'll be back tomorrow. Who do we have on tomorrow?
All right, at 8:30, we will be having Nate Boyer. He was a former U.S. Army Green Beret and played 1 year in the NFL with the Seattle Seahawks. Also played for the University of Texas. Actually, now doing some acting as well. And he was also one of the ones notably involved that was influencing Colin Kaepernick as well with this whole protest. He was one of the guys involved.
You think if I asked him if he could fit an egg in his ass,
You can ask him if you want.
I mean, I want you to ask him.
I'm not asking him that crap.
I'll ask.
I'm not catering to any of your nonsense.
I'm going to ask him what kind of crayon he'd stick in his ass. What do you think?
You do that.
What color do you think?
I don't know.
I'm going to say he's going to go with pink. Okay?
Whatever.
All right. If he picks the same color as you, I'm going to throw up.
Whatever.
All right.
So he'll be on at 8:30, and then at 9 o'clock, returning to the show, Sean hopefully will be on tomorrow because he was a Kansas City Chief, a great Kansas City Chief that we had on the show a couple of years ago. Christian Okoye, the Nigerian Nightmare, back on.
The not Hall of Famer, but All Pro fullback.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the Nigerian Nightmare.
Yes. And I remember the last time you had our show.
I'm not going to ask him about sticking crayons.
No, please don't. But I remember the last time you had him, we had him on the show. You were asking his daughter to try to sing the national anthem somewhere. We'll see if that's ended up happening.
No, that's true. I mean, I would love to hear it.
Yes.
I mean, maybe you should sing the national anthem.
I said his daughter.
I want you to sing the national anthem.
Well,
I want you to learn the national anthem, and we're gonna have some music in the background, and I'm gonna stand and we're gonna have you sing the national anthem.
No, we're gonna have Christian Okoye's daughter do it if he wants to.
If she wants to do it,
he
you
wants
can do
to
it.
do it.
But I think it would be.
We want an
awesome.
actual good singer.
I mean, I just want to hear you sing.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
All right, so we're gonna.
I'm
practice.
sure you do.
We're gonna practice.
I'm
this.
sure you do.
Ladies and gentlemen,
No.
in just 2 weeks, Speedy Petey is going to sing the national anthem for all you fans out there. And remember, if you're going out and buying a box of crayons, make sure you have a blue color in the box. Anyways, we're good. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Good night.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.